Welcome one and all to the Walking Dead podcast, The Return. Season 8 finale, season 8 discussion. What your entertainment really is. It's all programming, by the way. And I'm joined with my good buddy Robert J. Morris. Robert,
Hey.
how you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. I can't complain.
Good.
It's cold up here in
We're
Ontario.
complaining a lot, aren't we?
What's that?
We're gonna end up complaining a lot, so
Well, this is
don't
season
complain
8 of
about
The
your
Walking
life.
Dead.
Sorry,
It's a show I love to hate.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to complain about it.
yeah. I would recommend people hate or loathe their entertainment, or I think if you hate your entertainment or you have strong critiques about your entertainment, you might be paying more attention. And that's a good thing, because you need to pay attention, because the people that are making these shows have ulterior motives, and they are programming you into a new world order. In fact, The Walking Dead mentions the new world order many times.
Absolutely.
We've about it before. Negan, when he was introduced, said, "This is the new world order."
He also said, "Don't fuck with the New World Order."
Yeah, exactly. Don't fuck.
Remember that?
He said it twice. So I mean, it was, and then you had Abraham just before he died saying it was a brave new world. And we could go on and on. I mean, you could talk about one-eyed symbolism, which is just all over the show. I don't think I've ever seen a television show featuring so many one-eyed people and one-eyed characters and all that.
And they also dropped the A lot, especially with the in Terminus. Remember, they had the A symbology on a lot of the routes that the characters ended up running through. And then also mysteriously in season 8 in the junkyard, that crazy Matrix bitch went and wrote an A on.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, that's right. That group of, I guess, are they called the Scavengers? What is their, do they have a name?
The Junkyard Gang? I don't know.
I mean, come on, seriously. Yeah,
the Scavengers. It could be the Scavengers.
They stab you in the last season, and you end up losing people, and is a horrible betrayal. But yeah, let's go back again. And of course, predictably, he gets thrown.
I love Rick Grimes' retort. He's like, "You've only grazed me."
Rick Grimes.
I shot you. He's like, "You grazed me."
Yeah, that's right. Downplaying it. It's like you only backstabbed me once, and we lost several people, but that's okay. It's okay.
My theory is he only went back because she said she would sleep with him. Remember?
Oh my God!
In season 7, she wanted to have her way with him.
Okay, so I'm going to come forth right now, because just in case we have folks that are listening to the show, there are going to be folks that'll come in that'll probably know more than us, obviously, because there are a lot of hardcore fans of the show. So, don't take this as like we're the experts on Walking Dead. We're not. We're just people that are very in tune with how we're being programmed with our entertainment, and we try to find what they're trying to show us, or how they're predictively programming us for their new world order. Through the entertainment. So the zombie apocalypse is one of these things that's been thrown out a lot.
Yeah.
If you're of apocalyptic sort of mindset, and I don't recommend it, a lot of these shows could feed into that sort of ideology, or that sort of, learned helplessness, I guess you could say, or something. I mean, you could even say gaslighting in a sense, but the show,
If I could, I'd like to take that and actually take a step further and say this is kind of like amped up prepper mentality, in a sense, where you're not to trust anybody, and you should be willing to make the hard choices and do what it takes in order to survive. And it's taking away the morality and making things a lot more questionable, I guess you could say.
Well, it's a show that's written by a certain group of people for a certain purpose. And look, I mean, they're going to make money. So ultimately the show's a big hit. It's never going to end, which is a real problem. It should have ended, in my opinion. I thought really, I was really retarded. Retarded. I was just, I don't follow this. I don't read People magazine. I don't fucking follow the gossip garbage. I try to watch as little as Philip the Fucktard as possible. But I'm not one of these people that knows, oh, well, this is only this and this is going to happen. I don't read the comic.
Mm,
Although I've seen some of the panels, but I generally when I watch something, I don't want to be spoiled.
yeah.
Because I otherwise, what's the point of watching it? And it's hard enough to watch this show. I would have to say, like, one of the cheap thrills that keeps you coming back to the show is its extreme violence,
Yeah.
which we could go back to the finale there. What was it? Season 7 finale, or was that? I get confused now because we were in the
Oh,
total war.
are you talking about when the T-ball practice?
Yeah, when Glenn was like,
Yeah, yeah, that was a T-ball. That was the season 6 finale leading
yeah.
into episode 1 of season 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a lot of things dealing with this show. I'm going to talk a lot about the different leadership and the different groups and how the different type of ideologies, the leaders, also the white men who are often the leaders of these groups is very interesting because, of course, everything that's going on now with the whole Me Too saga is also showing up in The Walking Dead because you've got one of the main characters, of course, Negan, the main bad guy, who has a harem of women who have
Mm.
more or less given up their sexual sovereignty to this dictatorship or this dictator in order to.
Essentially a psychopath.
Yeah, is Negan a full blown psychopath as he is portrayed, or is he a pragmatic sort of hard nails type leader who has figured out through the harshness of this new world order that they're existing in that might is right and
Well,
that like
I,
strong leadership is what
yeah,
people crave because there is a lot of arguments to be made about the different types of leadership and that I'm really interested in that because I like Robert we both watched the show all the
yeah.
way through. How many episodes is it now? Like it's well over
8.
100, right?
Oh, well, no, sorry. In season 8, it's been 8 episodes. Numerology experts would love that shit, right? But anyway, I digress. Yeah, how many episodes? Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good question, man. Like 110 or something.
yeah, something like
They
that.
hit their they hit their 100th episode not long ago. I just don't know how many since now
Yeah.
because
So
they actually dropped in Easter eggs. Actually, you know what it was? Do you remember? I think it was in season 8, and what they did is they duplicated the scene from the very first pilot episode where Rick Grimes. Remember when he encountered the little girl zombie?
yeah,
And he was going through the cars. They duplicated the scene shot for shot, but with Carl doing the exact same thing.
yes.
And I
It's
think they opened that up. I think that was season 8, episode 1, if I'm not mistaken.
okay. So yeah, we're gonna look back through the last season, but we're also gonna look back at the
That
show because
I
I
think that was
think
100th.
yeah, I think some of the interesting things that are being shown is like what would like theoretically what would happen in a post-apocalyptic world. Tribalism. Like we talked about it before. We've done a number of podcasts, I think 3 or 4 on The Walking Dead before, and we've done Fear the Walking Dead as well. And Fear the Walking Dead is a much less popular sort of spin-off, but yet it has some extremely interesting New World Order elements to it,
Yeah.
especially last couple seasons have been
Well,
crazy.
I just found out some insider information, and apparently the actor who plays Morgan,
Yeah, he's
he's been
crossed.
cast for Fear the Walking Dead for a
Yeah, they're
full
gonna
season.
because they're desperate for ratings, I suppose. The
Well,
show though, like I'm one of these people now. Just to let folks that like I'm always thinking about not so much the audience that we normally have who know us pretty well. Thinking about the people that might come in here. I watch very little of these shows. Like I watch Game of Thrones, I watch Walking Dead, I watch The Fear of the Walking Dead, and maybe Black Mirror and a few other things here and there, sort of thing. But I am definitely not somebody who consumes a lot of television. I do tend to watch more movies, but even then, like now I'm going through the whole Marvel series, so I've already done like a first film or a first video on the whole humanist sort of element to Captain America, the
right.
first Avenger, and the super soldiers and all that, and how they're programming people with that. So just so folks know, this is a different type of podcast, and we're really going to try to be analytical about what they're trying to say about these characters. Now, Well, maybe we should just get away with. We should start off with what you thought about this season. Did you
Let's get
enjoy
into
it?
the writing. Let's
What?
get into how it played out.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first off, I just want to warn all of the listeners out there that this is going to be heavily spoiler laden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, come on.
And we're not going to give a shit.
We're not going to spoil the comics, though. We're not like racing ahead
Yeah.
with the comics because you
Yeah.
haven't read the comics, eh?
But well, I haven't read the comics, but I have gleaned into the comics a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I actually have kind of looked forward at certain bits. I should go back to the beginning and read the comics, like you read, the Game of Thrones, that kind of thing. But I didn't go there. However, this all-out war of season 8 is really, really well done, well paced in the comics. It's almost to the letter, exactly like they tried to do it in the show. However, I don't know if it's just lack of experience for the director. I don't know if it's a shitty writing team, but how they portrayed this siege on the Savior's encampment over the course of these 8 episodes has been completely handled like a shit sandwich.
Yeah, like the one that they gave to what's his name, Daryl, right?
Oh, Christ's sakes! I mean,
Here's Cam.
Yeah. I mean, okay, my favorite episode so far actually was episode 5. And that was when Gabriel was locked in the trailer with Negan. And then Gabriel, right in the opening sequence, just went and said, I think I'm here to hear your confession. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I was actually
I was like, that's badass, because Gabriel, like, just he looked off.
I have to admit, I think that Negan's a very interesting character, and when he's on the screen, he's magnetic. He's what people are turning into, I think, because he's a formidable sort of charismatic bad guy.
Yeah, but here's what they didn't do, though, man. Again, they're known for this, and it's missed opportunities. They painted Negan like that in the opening sequence of season 7, where he took batting practice on Abraham, and basically. I don't know, 2 balls, 1 foul on fucking Glenn. And Jesus Christ.
Oh, he had a grand slam on Glenn.
Grand slam. I'll find you. Maggie. But I digress. The thing is, though, is that it was far too many dick jokes. He had no screen presence almost whatsoever throughout the entire first 4 episodes, where they played out this fucking attack. The siege seemed to take forever. Nobody knew anything as far as the audience watching. We didn't have any tactical advantage. We didn't know what their plan was, so they just kept on jumping around from group to group. We didn't know what the fuck was going on, and we're supposed to care about, their mission. They didn't put any sense of urgency into anything. It was just react, and we're just sitting there like, what the fuck?
To me, it like, I'm going to be honest, like, there are times when I thought the show was pretty effective, and there are times where I thought the show was just filler, and more filler.
Yeah, a lot of it.
And a lot of it. And it's a lot like, well, we have this much budget. We have these many actors. We can stretch out these stories. And since there is no end at all, like just like Star Wars, there's no end ever for they're talking about doing 50 years of Walking Dead. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's a real problem, because that's not how stories are told. Like, stories have a beginning and an end, and that's what makes them, people cherish them and come back to them. This story it's not a story. It's just like, it's a never-ending story. It really is.
It kind of is. And it would have been better if they shut it down after like the 5th season. Remember, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like, this is like all from Rick Grimes' perspective, really, because he's the one who woke up in the hospital. He's the one who went and chased down and found his family, and then found Shane was fucking around. And this has all been about his experience. It would have been better for them to just end it on a note, even if he turned into a zombie at the end of it. Just end it.
Well, that's it. It's a cash cow for them, and it's a programming thing. And for AMC, I believe that's who makes the show, right? It's their hit show, so they're banking on it being a hit show for a very long time. So what they're going to do is they're going to do the predictable formula where you're going to have a new bad guy every couple seasons. You're going to have some crazy main characters being killed in extremely graphic ways in order to bring people back and get people hooked. Because I think
Yeah.
people do get hooked to violence. I think people. I also think that there is a general this you could call it learned helplessness. You could call it a form of gaslighting where a lot of people are just waiting for the apocalypse to happen, and for some people it's even a fantasy. And I think
Yeah,
in the show,
I agree.
yeah, in the show, Shane was, at least in the first couple of seasons, he was the guy that was built for that world, and they did a
Yeah.
like he's a great actor. I mean, I think Rick Grimes too, the guy that plays Rick Grimes, does a great job.
I think you're overlooking Carol. I think Carol is a perfect example. Like, I mean, she was abused and beaten her whole life. She needed the apocalypse in order to come out and actually take charge and
Yeah,
be a
yeah.
murderous bitch herself.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we've had the same main characters for quite some time, and okay,
Yeah.
they offed Glenn. Abraham was a more of a lesser sort of character.
Abraham was supposed to die earlier from the comic book. He was supposed to get an arrow in the eye just like the other girl did.
Yeah. So what do we get on in this last episode too? We have the homosexual sort of LGBT agenda playing a pretty big role, and it's in all the shows. Like, there's never going to be a show where you won't have main characters that are lesbian or gay or transgender now, because they've made it.
But they make it a point now.
Yeah, they make it a point, and so you've got I honestly find the female character of Tara to be one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen. I can't stand her. I just wish it was her that took. I hated the fat.
She was the one who's supposed to get it.
Yeah, her girlfriend there too. That was great when she got the arrow. And it's nothing against gay people. It's just like they gotta shove this in your face. Now they had the two men gay characters there and the wimpy one.
Eric and
yeah,
the other dude.
I want to make this clear. I'm not against gay people at all, and totally cool with me. I'm sure Robert feels the same. But there is a massive agenda that is I'll just put Walking Dead gay characters here. We can just talk about this, get this out of the way, sort of thing. Just normalizing it, making it something that is like these characters are portrayed as sympathetic. I mean, this guy here, he's like one of the most righteous characters. Like, there's almost nothing that he does wrong. So, and then that's the thing that you'll find with how they portray gay characters. You're not going to see murder characters being homosexuals. You're not going to see rapists being homosexuals. You're not going to see even evil, bad characters, corporate criminals, things like that in television being gay characters, because there's GLAAD, the gay lesbian advancement for it's the similar sort of organization as they have.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, absolutely. And
fucking hell.
But that's what it is. So we have to see these characters. Now there's a lot of them. Walking Dead. Probably the most annoying character is this guy, Jesus. And I have a lot.
Such a flip flop. Okay, you know what? Let's go back to when you first got introduced to him. He was doing freaking backflips and run around like a ninja and killing everything, and now suddenly he's like all like
peace, love, and anal sex,
and bleeding heart. Fucking hell!
I'm sorry. I would have killed this guy this season just based on how fucking annoying he was.
I thought he was badass when we first met him in the show.
Yeah, but like they are okay. So who makes the show? It's the people you're not allowed to talk about. They control Hollywood. They control your media. They control what you think. And so it is very purposeful for them to have their Jesus character be homosexual. It's a giant FU to all the Christians out there. It absolutely is. They're mocking you.
Agree with that.
And they play with the whole notion, Jesus loves gays, which you hear at all these Antifa sort of gatherings.
He didn't even have the courtesy to make him Mexican.
No, but he
or something like
Jesus is portrayed, in white movies and stuff like that. Like, this guy could step into Jesus of Nazareth or something like that, and nobody would bat an eye. So it's all purposeful. And this guy is
he
like
immediately has a look too of the classic, the classic white Jesus.
exactly. You know, when if you look up, we'll put it here. I'll just put Jesus. You know, and I don't know what we'll get, but I'll put in for images, and you know, you get the typical Jesus, right?
Right.
White guy. You
Now,
know,
Jesus from The Walking Dead.
he's probably he looks almost identical.
I
So
know.
I mean, come on. They know exactly what they're doing.
Look.
They are doing this
This
on
on purpose.
purpose, man. There's no doubt about it. So, massive F you to The Walking Dead for doing that kind of shit. And yeah, Christians should be pissed off because there's never been any evidence to suggest that Jesus was gay. And it's an insult to people that are Christian. But then again, Christians are they're trying to psyop Christians massively into the New World Order. And I think that's where they're getting a lot of their strongest resistance. But yeah, the gay characters, maybe it's not completely overdone and in your face. So, you know, we just wanted to touch on that because it's all part.
There's also an allegorical kind of a concept going too with the rise of the dead.
Yeah.
It's kind of the rise of the fallen ones, that repeating theme.
Yeah, they play that theme quite a bit in the Fear the Walking Dead as well.
Oh, they do.
There's like a sort of ideology that they have, you know, that the dead is rising again, you know, because it's you know, it's time for them. It's some sort of prophecy or something like that. But yeah, or there's too many people in the land of the dead, so now they've come to land of the living sort of thing.
I like Hurdy's response in live chat. He's like, Jesus didn't have blue eyes.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, you know, and then you got the Daryl Dixon character, who this is apparently the folks that read the comic will know this for sure, but apparently he's not in the comics at all.
Not at all.
So he's a character that they've purposely put in, and he's white. And this season, you know, it seemed like him and Rick were at each other, sort of thing. But he's always been one of the more righteous characters on the show.
Actually, that's one of the biggest inconsistencies in the writing for season 8 that I have, is that him and Daryl hatch this plan together, and then Daryl goes and fucks off and goes and screws it up.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I mean, where's the solidarity? Where's the teamwork that they've shown for the last 7.5 seasons prior? Like, what gives? Like,
to me, it's
he was kidnapped. Yeah, he was kidnapped by the Saviors. He's traumatized.
Yeah, to me, it's a lot like, I don't know, you call it ex machina or something, like where they put things in because they can, because they want to keep the story going. So they don't have a consistency with the characters because the characters all of a sudden do these stupid things, which, you know, if you're following the show and you're into the character or whatever, maybe at a certain point in time, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would the character do that? Then they never did that before.
You know what I liked about the first 4 seasons of the show? Is that the characters essentially wrote themselves. It was almost as if you could believe that these characters were doing the things they were doing pragmatically and as they went, like quick on their feet. And it was good writing. I forget the name of the gentleman who was directing at the time, and he was solid. When they let him go in season 3, they barely had a good season 4, and then they were kind of just like tripping over their feet for the next 3 seasons. Well, I mean, you remember how stupid the whole governor thing was. I mean, Christ, it's like,
I actually want to talk about the governor in a little bit later because I want to.
Well, he was he was a deeper bad guy than Negan. I'm not saying a better bad guy. I'm saying they put more effort into his backstory. I mean, they did a flashback episode.
I think that will be coming this season for Negan. I think they've teased it, and
in the latter half.
Actually, what
I hope so.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to is seeing Negan's story, and because I looked a bit today, so I read up, and I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, so I don't think anybody would really care. If you're looking back into the character Negan, he was a high school gymnast, or what do you call it, athletic
gym teacher.
Yeah, gym teacher.
Yeah, or a coach.
Yeah, coach. So he's good at motivating and stuff like that. And he had a wife who he cheated on, and then he found out she had terminal brain cancer or something. So he felt terrible. His wife was named Lucille. So he felt terrible, and he he stood faithfully by her as she died, and she actually died just as the apocalypse was happening.
And turned into a zombie.
Yeah, and turned into a zombie. So
And then he had to put her down.
yeah, with the baseball bat. I don't know. But the baseball bat, you know, became the symbol of his power, and it's a phallic symbol, of course.
It's also a reference to spiritual transfer into an inanimate object, which is another big thing. Just a personification of Lucille in an inanimate object, like a baseball bat wrapped around with barbed wire.
I just wanted to bring your attention to this because I was doing a quick search before on Walking Dead. I like to look at the headlines before I do these shows. And yeah, there's a petition to have the writer fired, the main writer, Scott M. Gimple. You're not allowed to talk about what his identity is, but Scott Gimple is hated.
Okay, hang on. For different reasons, I agree. Get rid of him. He sucks.
That's it. So
for different reasons.
Now the Carl Grimes thing, you know, so getting into the story, I don't think Carl Grimes is going to die. I think this is just them getting headlines, because what happens is if you do this, and we'll just show you, I show this all the time to my listeners on other things, but we'll just put Carl Grimes into a search and look at all the stories that come off the news dealing with Carl Grimes, and you know, the actor himself and all. This is one-on-one for what?
I will tell you this: he is completely scheduled for most of the episodes of season 8, after the mid-season break.
Well, there you go. So he's not dead.
So he still has something to carry. Well, like the show and the writers don't seem to care about consistency. Like when you get bitten, it could take days.
They're making it up as they go along. I don't know.
But what I'm saying is they do make it up as they go along. So
I honestly think they always have to have a cliffhanger. They've always got to have some major character look like they're dead or dying. And most people that watch the show will remember Glenn under the dumpster, and it was one of the cheapest walking.
Yeah, and there's a guy on top of that was being eaten.
Yeah, and he's screaming, and his guts are being ripped apart. But oh no, it's not him. See, the body it was on.
There's a baseball bat with his name on it.
Yeah, that's cheap shit. So they're probably doing something similar with. I mean, like it's obvious he's been bitten, but maybe he has some. Maybe he's immune. I mean, he might have. You know, Carl. Carl. You know?
Coral.
Here, you got it.
Carl. His dad can't even say his name right.
Carl. That's what he says like half the time when he's speaking. But yeah, I think Carl is going to be around next season. I think this is just a way of creating all kinds of because they do this all the time. It's like the cheap season finale where Negan brought out the bat and he started bashing, but you didn't know who it was, and so everybody had to be like, well, who was it, you know? And then you have 8 billion videos about the theories of who it is and whether it's this person, or in the comics it was these people, and you know, whether it's going to be 1 or it's going to be 2, and who they're going to be.
They rescued another baby from the Savior base. They rescued that baby, right? And that baby's name is Gracie. And then you got Judith, who's a little bit older. But in the dream sequence, with Rick waking up as an old man, and all you hear is Carl's voice. You don't see him, but you hear Carl's voice. I don't know what he says. Like, Dad, my name's Carl. I don't know. I can't remember.
Carl!
Carl! Is that you?
Carl, I've been asleep for a long time.
I'm really tired, Carl.
The old man Rick, and I hate shows that take you for a ride or take you like, I think Lost was one of those shows that created all these storylines that they never finished, and it was like I
was thinking in episode 8. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but in episode 8, I thought it was either going to be Judith that gets it or Carl. I actually said it's either going to be Carl or Judith, but we also had a scene 3 episodes ago where Carl, he does get bit. It happens on screen. It's hard to catch. I actually had to rewatch the episode.
It's when he's saving the Muslim guy, right?
That's when he's saving the Muslim guy, yeah. And he actually does take a hit.
You got to take the Muslims in, folks. You got to do it.
Ooh, predictive programming.
Absolutely. Everything that you see in your entertainment is what you're going to see in your media. It's all a mirror. That's what it is, and that's what we're trying to show you with this is that, you know, it's all meant. Everyone is meant to be triggered emotionally by these shows. You're meant to be triggered politically. by these shows. It's meant and what Rob said before with the, when we started the show, I can't remember, you were saying like, like people are, I can't even remember, and I lost my train of thought there, but what did you say before about how people are being conditioned by the show? And
Oh, to lose their moral instincts and
yes,
and like to like either steal, rob, or kill each other, and
well,
it's happening in subtle ways.
trust fellow human beings as well. And
Yeah, they're normalizing immoral behavior.
yeah, well, when you're in a like, and what you said before about the first few seasons where the characters made rational decisions based on their situations, I would agree with that. I mean, there are some stupid decisions that they made, and and then again, that's television, that's movies, right? You're not going to have much of a
Well,
movie.
good writing is basically having the people in adverse situations, and they're just going to react and be human beings, and yeah, they might make bad choices. However, the show's gotten to the point. Let's fast forward over to Maggie.
Mhm.
Okay, so they get stopped by the other savior team, led by Simon, the guy from Grand Theft Auto.
Yes,
Fucking favorite bad guy so far.
The pedo psychopath from Grand Theft.
Yeah.
The most popular character in Grand Theft Auto is a pedophile and a psychopath. That's what they have enamored people with. That's crazy.
That's it. And
he is really good in his role.
He is that. Yeah. And actually, he's really funny in real life too. I've seen him in interviews and stuff. He's intelligent too.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But
But this is what I'm saying. It's a desensitization, like being Negan's second in command, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He's but you can tell he's got his own kind of hidden agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's almost better than Negan, so he's just going to try and be funnier. And
he definitely has a more brutal instinct, you'd say, than Negan, because Negan. The one thing about Negan, this is why I'm not sure if he's a total psychopath or not, is because he sees people as a resource. And this is really interesting. In fact, I think interesting discussion that we could have on the bad guys is the difference, or the leaders themselves. And you take a look at the major leaders they've had, the governor being a very, very interesting one, because he does represent the typical sort of conniving politician, the two-face, the guy that says, all these things to people, but really behind the scene, he's doing all this nasty shit. And he has the look of the sincere, caring person, but he's really this real, almost, he is a homicidal fucking control freak sort of thing, right? And he kills.
He's going to stay on top. He has to stay on top, and and nobody can lose sight of that.
But with the governor, so I'm going to go and show the governor here, Walking Dead, because I think he's one of the most fascinating characters that they had.
Well, because they did a good job explaining him, though. See, like even his like psychosis, like I mean, he was a little bit of a freak. I mean, he kept pet zombies, one floating at the bottom of a river.
Yeah, the aquarium full of the tanks full of fucking heads. His little
the aquarium setup.
That was really crazy. But yeah, he was a typical, like in many ways, he was the typical politician, because he was all talk, and he would tell Woodsbury, right? He'd walk around Woodsbury and he'd say that there's no problems and all the people are safe. And he would make it seem like the people had a big say on what was done and all that. But when things don't go his way, and like his community,
like, fuck it, just press reset. Done.
Which was pretty like brutal and
all control delete the field. Best line ever. I've said it before and I'm saying it again. After Rick Grimes does his speech, he's like, "We can all get along. We can do stuff and work together. Blah 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 blah. Hither and here so."
Yeah.
And then the governor responds, "I have a tank."
No, he say no.
Remember, I have a tank. They let off a shell. They blow up one of the towers at the
yeah. When Rick was giving that speech, the the other people from Woodsbury were buying it, and they're like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
why are
yeah.
we doing this? And then it was like, well, he was going to lose his control under that.
Like, I have a tank.
No, well, no, he said no, and then he cut the head off, and then they went to war, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was really brutal. But yeah, the governor is a very interesting character in many ways. And so looking at the differences between him and Rick and say Negan, because you got these. So you got the governor, you've got Negan, and then you've got the fucking trash garbage pail fucking freak show here.
Fucking
Garbage pail
Trinity 2.0.
I don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, like, we know nothing about these people except they like to fucking sit around naked and fucking make stupid sculptures out of fucking garbage. They love garbage.
Yeah.
And they've got a really bizarre sort of almost they almost like insect like sort
It's
of
like the kingdom, dude. I mean,
yeah,
I do appreciate the episode. It was, what was it? The widow, the king, and the something. That was episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one where Shiva died. And by the way, I call bullshit on that.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Eh?
Yeah,
like,
that was
no,
horrible.
I don't think so.
I mean, obviously, the writers, the directors of the show don't even know what it's like to move a fucking like a 4-pound tabby on moving day. You can't control that fucking thing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
a 500-pound tiger?
Oh, it's
no way.
600.
No way. I call
tiger.
bullshit.
It's a CGI tiger that was so obviously CGI, which is hilarious because you'd think, well, it can't be that hard to get a tame tiger. I mean, they certainly exist. A lot of people keep them. So
it was still badass. No, they did actually those scenes because she would just jump in and like be like eating someone's face.
Shiva,
awesome. And then they would cut.
You know, like talking about the ex machina sort of thing. Shiva, when she
was she was definitely ex machina.
when Negan was going to bash Carl's head in there.
Yeah.
And what
man,
what
I was like,
I'll attack this fucking nobody here with a gun. And you know that could have been of course that should have been Negan that would have been taken out by the tiger. But you know they're using heavy religious symbolism in all these episodes. So they, you know, the Shiva, the destroyer, sort of Hinduism. You know they're chock full of symbolism on this show. They really are. All these shows are. All the shows featuring the people you're never allowed to discuss do this. They're very because they like to manipulate people. That's what they do. They're manipulators, and they're manipulating you with this show. And they're manipulating us with the plot. They're throwing in all kinds of what they call Easter eggs, and all kinds of little clues into what they're doing with their characters and what they're trying to show what they're doing with people. But yeah, we've got 3 of the leaders here. You could throw in. Actually, I wonder if I could get a collage of all the leaders because that would be easier to discuss them because there's more than those 3. You know, you've got. Rick
while you pull that up, let me just say that there was 2 redeeming moments in the writing that went back to Negan and characterizing him. Mm-hmm. And the primary one was, like I said, episode 5 when he was with the priest, with Gabriel. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the most entertaining episode of the whole season so far.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that was the most entertaining episode. I mean, like just watching the banter between them and then the fucking zombie guts. Have you ever tried this trick before? It's like, yeah.
For me, it was like, is this going to be an episode with Negan? Because then I want to watch it. If it's not, I don't want to see it really. If it's Negan or it's what's his name there?
But he went into his backstory, and that was
right hand man, Trevor
Simon.
Simon, yeah, I call him Trevor. But
and then actually, my second favorite episode was the one with the Brainiac. What's his name? Eugene.
Oh, mullet. Yeah.
No, that was a really good one too, because that also showed Dwight's. You know, did you notice, by the way, that Dwight? Okay, listen to the pacing and to him talking in the final episode. He sounds exactly like Rick Grimes with his pacing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no coming back.
Yeah.
Like he's talking the exact same pace.
You can
deliver a speech.
in the sort of show, he represents a realistic sort of character who is a coward and an admitted coward, but
And a
knows
survivor.
like Negan. He's similar to Negan in many ways. That's probably why he connects with Negan, because Negan doesn't show his weaknesses. He admits that he has them. He admits them to the priest, right? But he says never, you don't show them. You use them. So Eugene uses his cowardice to get out of certain situations because he knows that, I'm a coward and I'm not going to rock the boat, but I can be of service and I can save lives and I can do things. But
he flat out told the priest, it's like, I won't do the right thing because as long as I'm vertical, I'm not horizontal.
Yeah. So we had a lot of different characters, a lot of different bad guys over the season. I think they're all like, some of them are pretty interesting. You had the wolves that were like, they were just nihilistic fucking savages sort of thing. They were almost like cannibals.
It almost didn't go anywhere though. But
it's like a rogue threat of tribal sort of warfare. So they were the precursor to the saviors, and then the saviors. Well, you had these guys. They were what are they called? The claimers. The
claimers. Oh yeah, those guys. That was what's his face. Yeah, and they were great bad guys, and they finished them off in like 3 episodes.
Yeah. They were just a rogue group of.
They were just filler.
But they claimers. When I think about it, because I was playing Skyrim the other night. I don't know if you ever played it, but
I haven't played it, but I've seen it.
You've done Fallout or something like that, where like when you play types of games, you're always checking everything because you're always grabbing supplies, and the games themselves are like they know that there's like some sort of endorphins that people get from getting new things, even if they're virtual things. So they put them everywhere. Yeah. But yeah,
well, I mean, that goes way back to like Legend of Zelda in the 80s.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The thrill of discovering a new item or a sword or a boomerang or something. You're like, wow, I got this new thing. I can do this. Now I can go back to that place in that tree that I saw that apple hanging from and hit it with the boomerang or something.
Fucking Fallout.
Yeah, like they've nailed the whole concept, I think, and I'm going to be I'm actually going to be doing videos on that whole type of programming that people succumb to, that addiction to virtual sort of currencies and virtual, upgrades and stuff like that, because that plays a lot into what they're programming people into with the transhumanist sort of agenda and the LGBT. But yeah, maybe not a very interesting group, but that sort of philosophy where you anything you see in this world. So, if only like the post-apocalyptic world was like Fallout 4 or Fallout 3, it wouldn't be all that bad because everywhere you'd look, you'd find something. There'd be Nuka-Cola, which, you get your radiation. You have your rad roach meat. You never go hungry, but your rads would go up significantly. But
there's all kinds of vegetation,
And conversely, you can compare that to the movie The Road, which I recommend nobody ever watches. The most depressing movie in the history of humanity. Have you seen that one, by the way?
I haven't seen that one, but I have one to mention as well, which is like Netflix like propaganda, like you wouldn't believe, called Bushwick.
Bushwick?
Yeah, it is. I highly not recommend it. However, watch it if you want to, analyze it. It's absolute propaganda. There's a lot of steady cam shots. It's really gritty. It's actually quite well produced, well acted. However, the message is over the top, and then it becomes a horrible, deplorable movie at the end of it.
Everything we get, people need to realize this. Everything, all these shows, all these movies are there for a reason. It's not about, like, yes, they have to make money. That's part of the deal, but they're going to make money no matter what. Like the new Star Wars, it doesn't matter how much programming they throw in it. It's going to make billions because
in Bushwick, the plot line is that New York is under attack. Virginia, Florida, and all of the Patriots militias.
Yeah. So anyways, let's get back
right away there.
Yeah.
Sorry, right away there, it's just basically a propaganda piece. You know what I mean? Like to look at the Patriots as terrorists, essentially, as domestic terrorists. And then
Yes.
the show just goes like way off. It's so immoral. It's not even funny.
Yes. Another one to watch is the one with what's his name, John Goodman in the bunker. Have you seen that one?
Red State.
Cloverfield
No,
Lane or something.
the 30. Was it
33 Cloverfield.
Cloverfield Lane?
Oh my God.
33, yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, that's what they, and that is not all that far off from a typical Alex Jones, program.
I'm disappointed with John Goodman because I thought he was a smarter man than that. Mind you, though,
That's a great performance in it. He is fucking scary as fuck. He
really is good. He's a great actor, but I mean, did you ever see the movie he did? Actually, it was crap! It was Kevin Smith produced it. It was called Red State. John Goodman was in that.
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh, check that movie out, dude. It'll blow yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the leaders then. You've got the governor, who does exactly represent government in many ways. Government, deceitful.
More eloquently made.
Yeah, he's full of lies. He manipulates. He puts on an appearance that all his people think, he's a great guy and all this, but really he's fucking, like, if anybody's a psychopath on the show, it's the governor for sure.
Oh, definitely, I agree. 100%.
Yeah, like he'll just kill people instantly. Like he makes a decision, like when he killed the soldiers.
He killed his own people. He just
yeah. Like, fuck this guy. I still think he's probably been the most effective villain that they've had on the show. Negan is different in many ways. Now, the thing, like, you can like certain things about Negan. He looks like he's always having a good time unless things aren't going his way. He's whistling, he's smiling all the time. He reminds me of that alpha male jock sort of mentality where everything, goes their way. It's like, he just knows that he's not going to get killed. He's too clever and stuff like that.
When he comes inside the house, when he's with Gabriel, he's like, I've got balls of steel. I ain't dying until I'm good and ready.
Yeah, and then you've got the trash lady here who, good fucking Lord, whatever she's on, stay away from. Because that's the last group of people I would ever go near. I'd be like, you people are fucking mentally fucking retarded.
Yeah, it's like their fucking forward scouts found a fucking truckload full of Ativan.
It's like, I mean, like, none of them talk. They all kind of walk around in circles. Like it's just, they're like, what the fuck is? I mean, they're the LGBT group for sure of the show.
I would say so.
Yeah, and so we know almost nothing about these people other than she likes to like make garbage art in the nude and shit like that. So that's pretty hilarious. You had, of course, the other politician here, which was Deanna.
Poor lady.
Yeah, Deanna. So Deanna is very similar to the governor in many ways, except a much softer, more but she is
naive.
authoritarian.
A lot more naive.
Yes, absolutely, because they were shielded by their walls, so they represented that element of authority that had been untouched.
And you bring up a great point, Jeff, because like at this point in the show, we gravitated towards Rick Grimes' party and all the other characters, but this was a point of separation for me, and I'll tell you why. Because Rick Grimes is like, we'll kill everybody here.
Yeah.
And take the place by force if they don't go along with our deal.
So
and
Rick,
he's almost just as bad as Negan at this point.
Exactly. In fact, in many ways, you could say Negan isn't as bad as Rick. And I know people will think, what the fuck? But think about it. Rick and his group killed preemptively.
Horrible shit.
Yeah, preemptively, they killed like what, 40, 50 at least saviors before one of them was killed. Yeah. Now Negan does it more powerfully with the bat
because he's got more numbers.
Really,
and the bat for dramatic.
And I just want to say something about the bat too, as a form of death. It's as horrible as it would look to the folks watching it. After getting hit 3 or 4 times, you're dead or you're completely knocked out.
With your head's a puddle.
Yeah. I mean, like seriously, at that point, it's just elementary.
Right? You're getting on people's shoes.
it's a message, but if you really wanted to put somebody through pain, you would, crucify them, torture them, and do
Oh,
all
the
the
person's long since dead. You're crucifying the other people that are watching now.
yeah. So Negan, that's why I want to see his story, because there is some elements that are very similar to Rick, and what you said there, where Rick, came, like Rick did this several times, where he's like at the whatchamacallit there, the
Alexandra,
Alexandria, right? The New World Order Sustainable Development Town that they
right?
created. That there he was
Lost in Greece by the hands of the Romans.
yeah, conspiring with his own people to violently overthrow the people that took them in and save them, basically. So that's like, well, yeah, and you could argue, well, he's the stronger leader, and therefore, in a post-apocalyptic world, this shit happens. Yeah, it does. But that says a lot about what Rick is willing to do.
Well,
Another one.
I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be fair and just say that it's almost like a competition of who can be the biggest scumbag on the show.
Well, I think there's a shock factor that means ratings factor, so they have to have extreme violence, and Negan was the big character that all the fans from the comic book were so excited about, and that he was going to make this explosive debut, and he was going to smash people with his Lucille bat. So that's all part of, you could maybe, if you were to do an analysis of the comic book itself, comic books are the biggest programming outlets and have been forever. Comic books were always propaganda, always. This is one thing people need to know. People are dumb. Like, this is the idiocracy. People love their entertainment. They think that their entertainment represents them. Well, it does in some ways, because it's like, yeah, it's crushing you mentally, physically. It's, programming you. It's normalizing extreme violence. It's normalizing a lot of these things. Negan also, like, I talk about the Me Too and Negan being the white male with the phallic symbol, his bat, right? And he's going around, and he's the leader. And he's unquestionably the leader of the Saviors. And
Absolutely.
when anybody tries to challenge his leadership, then the bat starts coming out real quick.
Well, that was asserted in the plot there when Gabriel and him showed up from the trailer after surviving a horde of zombies. They're covered in guts, and he goes and says, "I got balls of steel, and I ain't dying until I'm ready."
Yeah.
What's your thing? Okay, Simon was basically trying to calm down basically an employee revolt. Remember?
Simon you go ahead.
Yeah, and he was about to go violent. Simon was actually about to go and do some corporeal punishment.
Yep. Corporeal.
And in walks Negan, and guess what? Everyone goes down to one knee, like Game of Thrones style.
Yeah.
You provide for us.
So Negan, again, could represent royalty at the same time. He also wears a purple, or a kind of scarlet purple.
Controlling elite, yes.
Right. There's a lot of symbolism. The black leather jacket, to be intimidating. And he just, like, this is the reality too about humanity and tribalism and stuff like that, because that's inevitably, if society does break down, it's just like dogs. Okay, so think about dogs for a second. Dogs are pack animals. Well, so are human beings in many ways. Yeah. Absolutely. We're tribal. In fact, one of the podcasts that we did on The Walking Dead was breaking down how the Walking Dead traces human civilization through the different.
I remember that.
Remember agriculture and farming, and then the city states and all that. Well,
yeah, that was season 3.
yeah, exactly. It's for sure. All these themes are very present and cognizant to the writers of the show, of course, because they know exactly what they want to say about this stuff. So Negan, in many ways, he represents the rock star, the king, the dictator. Of course, he's a dictatorship because nobody questions his authority. Like, there is no, like, he has a council, right? And we saw that in the last season. We never saw that before, but he does have a council. So there's a bunch of people that sit on the council, but he has unquestionably, he'll listen to his lieutenants, but then if they say the wrong thing, the bat smashes down, and then they're all like, holy fuck, right? Like
Which
that's
was you know what? That brings up a very interesting point, because at the end of the cliffhanger of season 6,
Mhm.
if people remember, he was talking to Lucille and asking for guidance from the bat. Like, what should I do?
Yeah, that's because it
You remember
represents
that?
his dead wife, because that's what
Asking for guidance, like almost like as if like asking for permission to do what
but also when we
horrible shit he's about to do.
just think about the phallic symbol for a second here, because let's just think about Negan as your prototypical white alpha male.
Right, right,
The bat represents is the phallic symbol, right?
right.
Big dick, but it's barbed wire. Very strong symbolism, because of course, if the bat is a penis and it's covered in barbed wire and it penetrates, well, guess what's going to happen? So that's a very interesting.
You're gonna get some chafing.
Well, that's it. Break out the lube, man. Wow. I mean, it's just crazy, but yeah, that is something definitely. All of this is part of it. Like it's all like it's no coinkydink that you have this Me Too thing happening right now, and all the bad guys in all the movies are alpha white males. That's the only safe thing. They're not gay males; they're heterosexual males. Negan has a harem, and the trick that Negan plays is that the women agree to be his wives, right? But the agreeance, it's like what happens if they fuck up? Well, they're if they screw around. Well, you saw what happened to that guy that fucked around with one of his wives. Well, he got an iron to the face,
Oh,
sort of
right.
thing, right? So
Just like Dwight.
yeah, Dwight, exactly. So Negan is like,
Let's talk about Dwight. Let's talk about Dwight's double cross.
okay, Dwight.
Well, why up until now? Yeah, there's Dwight.
I actually like Dwight. He's one of the best characters.
Well, I didn't at first. I didn't like him, but then you know what I noticed is like more and more he does a lot more speeches. In the episode with Eugene, he sounded exactly like Rick Grimes. Like I said it earlier, that his pacing. He was like, "There's no coming back from there."
Yeah.
the way he was talking to Eugene, and I was like, "What is this like Rick Grimes Jr.?"
Did you know that he used to be the leader before?
Yeah, he was.
Years? I learned that today. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, he totally was. Yeah, he totally was. It was taken from him by Negan, and Negan just basically took control.
Yeah. So we're gonna
actually somebody tried to kill Negan, and Negan actually responded.
Also, the brutal things that Negan does to people. So what does he do? Okay, so like the shock violence. Right. We see it in the show. It's not common, but he does it every now and again. Like the iron to the face. So if we put Negan and for folks that like, I know there's probably people in the show in the chat stuff and listening to the show that probably never seen the show, because I mean we have like an audience of people that are much too clever to fall for a lot of this programming. So good for them, and if they're here, it's even better, because it's cool, because don't necessarily have to see this shit to understand what they're trying to do to people and how they're using it. So Negan. Iron, I'll just put the iron in. It's one of the things that he uses to keep people. It's a very shocking thing. I don't know why they're just showing. Yeah, there's one of the scenes that they show. I think this is one of the guys that screwed around on. I believe that's the scene of the guy that.
It was the old doctor.
What's the old? This is the old doctor. Okay, yeah, no, the old. Yeah, so he used it on the old doctor. He used it on.
He was blamed for giving a drug to somebody.
Yeah, he used it on the doctor, but it was Dwight that got him burned, right? Because Dwight cleverly sort of planted the shit. So there.
So he's a dickhead too.
Well, no, it's not even so much being a dickhead. It's the world that they live in. This is the world.
Yeah, but here's a problem that I have with the show, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that all of these people have become. Let's not even talk about Maggie yet. Let's get into Maggie soon. But I'd like to get into Maggie. But anyway, that aside, Um, it's shit, dude. Some of these characters are so reprehensible that I almost don't give a crap whether any of them live or die.
Yes.
Like in the show, no, it takes away the urgency. It takes away the empathy because it's like, fuck, you're just being a douchebag, and fuck yeah.
These scenes are very important because this is something that's played out throughout history over and over again. The use of extreme violence, like drawn and quartered.
This was a good scene.
Like if you think about drawn and quartering, okay, so let's talk about that for a second because it's one of the most
or public stonings.
Drawn and quartered, like a lot of people don't know what that means.
Yeah, go ahead, break it down. I know what it means.
Oh, it's unfucking believable what they used to do to people. So like they would start off like they might burn you and stuff, and then they would have horses pull your limbs and break all and stretch you out. Then they'd put you on a table, and then they would pull out your organs. They would just pull, like they did it on Braveheart. That's what the end of Braveheart, where he says freedom. That's what they're drawn and quartering him, and then eventually they would
like George Michael.
What's that?
Like George Michael, freedom.
Yeah. So this was a very common method that the British monarchy, amongst other monarchies, used. It was the British monarchy that really made it famous, and they I think it was Queen Victoria, if I'm not mistaken, who eventually had it banned. But they used to use this, and everybody would come to watch it. And it's exactly the same thing that Negan. It was people who were politically opposed, people that were conspiring or were who were suspicious of conspiring against the monarchy, against the establishment, that they would do this most brutal form of torture and death. It was so utterly brutal that, you know, everybody that would see it would be like, oh my fucking God.
It's a public deterrent.
Yes, that's it. That's what Negan is showing. Negan is using old school shock and awe, just like people did in the past, to prevent people from challenging his authority. It's as old as the hills. I mean, ever since there's been, tribes used to use it for sure, as a method of deterrence. Like that's basically what it is, because you know, and maybe some of these people really enjoyed doing this because, I mean, you know, times were brutal back then, and there's a lot of sick people that you could find to do these types of jobs. So if you got a psychopath type of people to do the actual dirty work, you could do this type of brutal torture, and it would be in public squares. Everybody would be watching. In fact, you would, if you didn't show up to watch, you might be considered suspicious, because it's like, well, why aren't you there? You didn't go to the drawn and quartering today? You didn't go to see it happen? So there's nothing that's not surprising, because The Walking Dead is taking several steps back. It's not a strong established civilization. We have Pax Romana, of course. We have the Roman law that was developed over centuries, if not millennia, sort of thing, that now is encoded in our civilization. That, you know, this shit can still happen, and it still does happen. I imagine in places like North Korea. I imagine in places of Africa, where dictatorships are still, and there's brutal, and that's the thing about the brutality. If you look at some of the African dictators, if you look at places like Liberia, where you've had these, you know, these diamond wars and stuff like that, yeah, they would do the most brutal fucking things. They would come in, like another thing, when you think of Joseph, what's his name, that wrote the novel that the famous Vietnam movie is based on, with Marlon Brando, Heart of Darkness, right?
Oh, Heart of Darkness, yeah. Which
is it Joseph
Now?
Conrad? What?
That's Apocalypse Now in the movie, and it's Heart of Darkness. Yeah,
the author that wrote it. The scene there where they talked about the arms, like where the Marlon Brando Colonel Kurtz character was talking to the Martin Sheen character about seeing, like, coming into a village and seeing just a pile, like a giant pile of little arms, and how powerful that was.
That's in the book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Joseph Conrad.
I haven't read the book, to be fair.
The book is a must read for sure. It's it's absolutely it's very different because it takes place in Africa, and it's but it's similar.
It's not even related to the actual Vietnam War.
Not at all, but it was a perfect
Yeah.
setting to use it
Yeah,
for. It is like if anybody hasn't seen Apocalypse Now,
Yeah,
definitely.
Apocalypse Now is based on the Heart of Darkness, but set in a different setting.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a common thing. And the Heart of Darkness, and then they even made a movie called Heart of Darkness, which is like the filming of Apocalypse Now. But Apocalypse Now, yeah, is it is one of the greatest movies ever made for sure. It's a masterpiece. It's also extremely disturbing, but it does say a lot of things about extreme violence and what extreme violence can achieve, and how you can rule people through absolute violence. You can. That's what Negan has figured out. This is why I want to see Negan's origins, because there's going to be at some point where he goes from being a gym teacher to being a guy that bashes people's heads in with a baseball bat. And somehow
I hope they give us that.
Yes,
I hope they give us that.
I think that's coming. I mean, I think they're going to.
I thought it was going to come when he was going to give when he gave his confession to Gabriel. I thought that was a brilliant episode. Like I said, so far that's my favorite episode.
Yeah.
However, I will also say number 6 wasn't horrible. I didn't hate it. Number 7, I liked about as much as number 6. The first 4 episodes, I could not stand. I could not stand them at all.
Yeah, the guy that he burns with the iron that you see is one of the guys that messed around with one of his wives. So it was they were in a love affair, and the girl who was a young girl, and she was forced to become Negan's wife, and she was getting wasted, and she became. They tried to get Eugene to kill Negan through making a pill, right, and shit like that.
He gave the pill to what's her face, to the black girl, to Sonya.
She killed herself and became the zombie and all that. But yeah, the one scene that you see with the iron is, and it's pretty brutal if you haven't seen it. He takes a scalding hot iron and holds it up to this guy's face because he screwed around with one of his wives, Negan's wives, and that's not tolerated. It's shocking because he makes everyone watch. So everyone that's at the Savior's compound has to watch. This is mind control. This is control
New World Order.
Fear. It's a very powerful technique. You could talk about so many dictators throughout history that have used this technique. Stalin, Hitler. You could talk about Khmer Rouge. The killing fields, the Khmer Rouge, right?
Oh, right.
How brutal they were in their violence, and how they would take people and just brutally murder them in front of everybody. And
speaking of which, let's talk about Maggie.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Let's talk about her.
Right.
She gets stopped by Simon.
Yeah.
And his group with Jesus. We get a really stupid scene where somebody gets popped in the head and there's a blood spatter, and you think it's somebody important. Actually, I even thought it was Jesus for a moment, and it was just some asshole in the back seat that we don't even know in the show.
Yeah, kind of cheap too, because I thought
remember that
the main characters. Yep, absolutely.
And then okay, so Simon's got a couple lackeys that roll out a box, basically a pine box with some holes in it. Mm-hmm. Because whoever goes in the box, they don't want to suffocate like Sonya did. Mm-hmm. Is it Sonya or Sanja? I can't remember her name now. The black girl who.
Sonya, I believe. Yeah. Okay.
Sonya, yeah. Anyway, so she's like, "I want to take the box so we can bury my friend that you just shot." He's like, "Okay." You think Simon would pick up on her negative attitude and pheromonal response and all that kind of shit, but no, he says, "Go ahead, have the box."
But again,
go back to the hilltop, and she shoots.
Yeah,
she just goes in cold blood and shoots the first person that she sees that they're holding. Like,
because she is learning that you cannot be. Like, she's the leader of the hilltop now, right? So one of the, like we were talking before, we didn't get to Gregory because I wanted to
that slimy prick.
Yeah, because I wanted to go through the characters. There he was, right there. That's why I was going to bring him up. Mm-hmm. Because again, he again is the politician for sure. He's the white man. He's older, and he is
a flip-flop.
He's an asshole. They make that clear. They don't
he's
really
a flip-flopper. He just goes whatever.
But you know, he tries, probably in his brain, or at least in the way that his character scripted, he
Mhm.
justifies his behavior because he's kept people alive. So he is the useful politician that is terrified of the saviors. So he will not cross them. He'll do whatever they say. And that's, of course, what leads to the problem of his leadership, because eventually he gets overthrown by Maggie, who refuses to cooperate with the saviors because, of course, her Glenn, I'll find you, Maggie. So like she has an axe to grind, definitely, with Negan, and that's not going to be that's not they're not going to be able to resolve that.
From a
That's
guy's
why.
perspective, I have to say I totally appreciate like what she did. She's like, no, I'm gonna send one of your guys back home in the pine box that you gave with me, holes or not.
Yep, yep,
Like,
yeah.
here
That
you
that
go.
was that was
But
kind of. Mhm.
this goes back to what I was saying though about the levels of morality that have been crossed on the show with the characters, and it's like everyone has stepped over the line now at a certain point. It's like you almost like,
But do the ends justify the means? And that's what a lot of these
well,
characters you
that's
can
what we
talk
have to
about.
come up with.
Yeah.
Is it
So
all? Is it all
we
going to be
could
in vain?
say that these two here. Now, this is the Ezekiel is a very interesting character as
Yeah,
well.
I agree.
I also find that Ezekiel is one of the most far-fetched characters on the show, because
Absolutely.
I don't think, like, I don't see why anybody would follow this guy. Um, if I saw him, I'd just I'd say, like, nice tiger, nice CGI tiger,
Actually,
but I
if
would
he
not
if he
think.
listen, if he was 20 years younger, I would say he'd have a perfectly good Dungeons and Dragons group, and they would all follow
Yeah.
him.
But okay, so what does he represent? Okay, so he represents the image of the authority, the image of the king.
Because he
Now,
owned a tiger.
yeah, and because of the tiger. So he is playing the role, but all kings, all queens, all monarchies are playing a role, whether they know it or not, whether they want to admit it or not, because
Wow.
none of them have any legitimacy other than everyone thinks that they should be the king. This is the
Actually, you know
whole
what?
thing.
That was the best part about episode 4, is because watching his breakdown and
Yeah.
watching him turn into a regular guy, I thought that was the best part of episode 4, minus Shiva getting killed by a handful of zombies.
Well, also the Las Vegas shooting that happened in episode 4.
Right.
It mirrored exactly what happened in Las Vegas. In fact, it's uncanny. It's funny
Right.
how people you're not allowed to talk about always just seem to come out with these things right as they happen.
Well,
Because if you don't remember, if folks are listening, we'll say Walking Dead, Walking Dead,
hey, it's Jesus.
Ezekiel, um, Ezekiel shooting, I guess you could say, and hopefully that'll turn up what I'm looking for, which is the scene where he leads his people. So this guy, he's portrayed as a decent character. All right, like he is a righteous guy, even though he's an actor and he's a fraud as a king. He's not, like, he's playing a role, but he is portrayed as being a righteous guy, that he really does care about his people.
He doesn't
And
have good intentions. He just doesn't know exactly how to pull it off.
well, yeah, but it also says about leadership and how people. It's more about perception. So with the interesting comparison with him and Negan, because they both are perceived as leaders. They're both essentially kings of their domain.
Essentially, but one answers to the other.
Yeah, but Negan is unquestionable. Now, Ezekiel is, in a sense, somewhat unquestionable, but for different reasons. Ezekiel doesn't take the violent approach at all. He is kind. He is, giving. And
Yeah.
so he plays a role because he's playing the role because people believe that he's the king, so that he can fulfill and keep his kingdom safe and
Yeah, but as soon as things go south, Jeff, he
yeah,
shits the bed.
shit.
How
So
does Negan respond? What did he say? He goes, "When I unfuck this situation, Rick is going to have to, pretty much unfuck the situation I'm going to bring onto him." And it was said differently. I don't remember the quote, but that was a general gist of it. It was like,
Yeah,
yeah, Rick
yeah.
has no
Right.
idea how I'm going to respond to this shit kicking.
But with both Ezekiel and Negan, it's the perception of them being the leaders. Like they're
Yeah,
unquestionably by their people, they are leaders, but for different approaches, completely almost
yeah.
polar opposite approaches, where Negan uses violence, Ezekiel uses
Ezekiel was
compassion.
also very needy because he often went to Carol when Carol was living in the woods by herself.
Or the pomegranate.
He would often go to Carol, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Gone off the
visit
Carol.
her. I think I
Cabin
think
in the
she fell
woods.
in love with him and was kind of let down because suddenly he couldn't step up to the plate all of a sudden. And then, like, no, I'm giving up
But yeah,
as a leader. Now, well, hang on. He knows his town better than anyone else. So when shit went down, well, he set off a fuel canisters and blew some shit up, and then he actually got himself taken hostage.
mhm.
So, he maybe grew a set of balls, went about it wrong. He's probably going to die.
Well, he got most of his people killed. Let's
He
just say.
got everyone killed except for his right hand man.
Well, all the soldiers, all the people that were
Yeah,
capable of being soldiers and
are
capable of
dead.
fighting are from the hilltop are dead.
Yeah,
So, you
it
know,
was
and that
or no,
that
no, it wasn't the hilltop. It was
the kingdom.
the kingdom. Yeah,
Kingdom. So yeah, Ezekiel plays the role. He's like the emperor with no clothes because he really isn't a king. He's just some
well,
guy,
he got caught and he
and
felt bad about it.
pretty interesting dreadlocks. And but because he charismatically, whatever his story is, however he came to his kingdom, people believed him. They followed him, and therefore. And that says a lot about humanity. When what I was saying before about dogs, okay, so dogs are pack animals,
Yeah.
humans are tribal, very similar. So when dogs all of a sudden go in the wild, you never find, almost rarely do you ever, it's like lone wolves. You rarely ever find a lone wolf. It's rare that you will ever find a stray dog, maybe for a few days, but usually they'll always pack up because
Right.
first and foremost, they're
They're
much stronger.
social animals.
They're way stronger in a pack. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
they're also social animals. They require social input.
so for, and it's the same reasons for human beings, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If you strip away all our technology and all of a sudden we're in the woods, right? Then all of a sudden, it's your fellow human being that is your best asset, because if you're all alone, unless you're really well equipped, that's going to be very difficult. So people naturally gravitate together. Naturally, leaders rise up, and people that have leadership qualities will quickly come in, and that's not a bad thing at all. That's a natural thing. There's always a chief of every tribe, right? There always is people that, for whatever reason, have, and then in the case of monarchies, it's because of nepotism and you're born into it and all that. So it's all
Yeah.
bullshit. But in other tribes, in a lot of tribes, in a lot of native communities, prior to European sort of colonialization and all that, it was, you'd have to prove yourself, or if you proved yourself through battle or through leadership, you would maybe be made the chief of the tribe or something like that, or you would defeat a rival in battle, and then you'd be the strongest one.
Do you remember Bob?
What's that?
Do you remember Bob from like season 5, the black guy?
Bob from yeah, the guy that with the
Yeah, the alcoholic. He ended up having like they ended up doing an entire episode, which was his backstory, his survival story, like an origin story. It was really good. I thought that was a total awesome episode showing Bob's backstory because like everybody thought he was a deplorable piece of crap. And it was
Yeah.
just like he was just a sorry guy.
Yeah. So getting back, there's a lot of different leaders on this show. That's what's interesting about it. Here we are, the leaders. So we've gone through Negan, we've gone through Ezekiel.
Let's go through Carl.
Maggie, although Maggie, just to finish off with Maggie. So Maggie is someone who is, they teased it, I think, back in season 2 on the farm, that she had those leadership qualities. because of some of the decisions that she was forced to make. And when Herschel started to, wane and was injured and all that, she kind of took over the family, and then she was making the decision. So she, through her sort of interactions,
That
and
was after Rick Grimes cut off his foot, though.
she's kind of like an accidental leader. Rick Grimes is more of a natural leader because he was already a cop, right?
My point is, though, is that she got caught up in the fold because Rick Grimes had to cut off her father's fucking foot. It's like, oh crap, now I'm balls deep in this now.
Yeah, yeah. So
You know what I mean? Like,
she's probably going to end up being the leader of them all in the end, because they're setting her up to be the best leader, the one that makes the best choices. Whereas Rick obviously has made some very bad choices. Going back many seasons now, I mean, there's many things that Rick has done that you're just like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Well, if he didn't do that, that wouldn't have happened. And then this wouldn't have happened, sort of thing. So you could play that game if you want.
Carl dies, he loses his primary focus for living.
Because
the only reason
he's still got Shane's daughter.
Judith?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Judith. Judith's been raised by every other member of the party.
So, but yeah, then you had, remember this one, which was pretty interesting too, which was the hospital, the police.
Yes.
Here. And you had this character who was one of the control.
Horrible feeling ever.
Yeah. She you could see that she was just losing all control. The interesting thing about the hospital was that they were trying to maintain the civilization that they had existed in prior to the apocalypse, when painfully obvious,
including rape and abuse.
Well, yeah, and that happened anyways. But you know what I'm saying, with the uniforms and ironing your clothes and doing your hair and shit and showing up and punching in, doing the clock. I'd be out of there in a heartbeat. I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing a shift. Fuck you. I'm gonna go find some rad roach meat. Yeah,
rad roach meat. Only if you get to the main floor, mate.
Then you've got, what's his name here, Gareth. And so with Gareth, he was leader of Terminus, and we don't really know what he was like before. So we know that we only got a short sort of flashback to what they went through.
A bit on that.
Yeah. So originally, the Terminus, what Gareth says was that they were taking people in, they were trying to save people, and then they took in the wrong
food and they had to eat them.
No, they took in the wrong people, and those people took over Terminus, and they imprisoned all Gareth and his mother and everyone else, and then they were brutally raping them and probably eating them. And that's when Gareth snapped, right? They showed that flashback where he was in they were in the same cart that they put Rick in, basically. Yeah. And it was them, and he was listening to his mother being raped brutally, and then she was thrown back in, and then it was like, we'll never do this again. We're gonna, well, I don't know what the quote was, but it was more like, and some of the characters from Terminus said this as well. It was like, we're going to be the bully, or we're going to be the aggressor. We're not ever going to be bullied again, sort of thing. Right. So the whole bullying thing, and they throw it back, and then they become what they hated, what they feared, which is cannibals and just brutal fucking deceivers and, murderers. Well, even worse, cannibals. So
cinematically speaking, I do have to say, I think in the entire show, like all 8 seasons, I think the best season premiere was that episode in Terminus when they're all lined up.
Oh, that was brutal.
And the baseball bat and the knife to the throat.
That. I have to admit, that to me is the most shocking scene I've ever seen.
That was the most horrible thing ever. And I was like, what the
yeah. Where they were I'll just put Walking Dead Terminus. If people haven't seen this scene, you could probably find it on YouTube. It's so Terminus was this fake sort of a savior place. Like it was, there were all these signs that were pointing to it, and people were, come find, there's salvation, there's food, we'll take you in. But really they were just taking people in, and then they were brutally murdering them and eating them. They were cannibals. So the Terminus, we'll say, what was it? What was the scene there with the
opening scene, episode 1?
Yeah, but what would I put in to find that scene?
Was it season 5, episode 1?
The bat. I don't know, the bat, because the guy was whacking people with a bat. Yeah, this was the scene here.
Yeah.
So the baseball bat comes into play again here. It's obviously not Negan's Lucille, but they had all the. This was such a crazy scene because you're like they had a bunch of the main characters in this line, and they were over a trough. And they were all tied up, and they had one guy with a baseball bat that would smash them on the head, and then you'd have another guy that would come. Yeah, the other guy would come and slice the throat, and then the blood would roll down the trough, and everybody
they go move on to the next person.
Yeah, they just move on to the next one, and it was was a brutal scene. It was like, horrible. Oh my fucking god! And of course, predictably, by the time they get to Daryl and co, things start to unravel.
Well, I think this was only season 5, and at this point, like we'd already lost a lot of key characters, so you actually didn't know they could have got rid of anybody.
Yeah, that's true. They did a good job up until then. I thought Terminus too was one of those. It didn't overstay its welcome, you know. Like they probably didn't spend nearly enough time on it. I would have liked to have seen more of what happened.
I agree. Again, another missed opportunity. I think they could have stretched out Terminus because that's when they went into the claimers.
Yeah, that's right. So they kind of
and they only did that for 2 episodes.
The claimers were interesting. I agree with that because it was that quote that he says, "There's nothing sadder than a barn cat or a wildcat that thinks he's a house cat," or something like that, which summed up Daryl pretty well.
Daryl was estranged from the group at the time.
Yeah, but that's all. That's all. Was that all? I don't even know. Was it in the comics? I guess they would have been in the comics, but it would have been Daryl because he wasn't part of the comics. But yeah, this to me was the most shocking scene in all of The Walking Dead. And I agree with him. Like when I saw this scene, I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" Could you imagine being lined up and watching every person next to you get fucking murdered and seeing their
waiting for your turn?
Yeah, it's like
that was
great. It's me next. It's just horrible.
This sucks.
Yeah, and they were cannibals. That's what they turned to. So, you know, that was a crazy scene. So the scene, with Bob, where they were all eating Bob, and Bob was like, "You got tainted meat." That was pretty.
Yeah, you got tainted meat. That was it.
Yeah,
because he got bit. And he didn't tell them he got bit. They're cooking him up. They're barbecuing him.
Yeah, they thought they were like, "Yeah, we're eating you, Bob." Yeah, well, actually, I'm already bit and I'm already dead. So, but yeah. So, what else? So, what other leaders haven't we addressed? We could talk about the wolves for a second. I mean, we did kind of mention them before. I think that actually this guy, I thought he did a pretty effective job. They're just like at this point, totally. Like they didn't have guns, right? They had like nothing. These people, like they were like failures as scavengers, even because they didn't even have bullets in their guns, sort of thing. So they just had to scare the fuck out of people.
The wolves.
They represented a nihilistic sort of tribal, just let's just fuck people up sort of thing. And that scene where they went into Alexandria and they just started killing people, that was pretty crazy.
Went nowhere. They were a distraction in the plot line.
Thought they could have gone further with that, but
I think so. But it didn't really actually go anywhere. They had that one main guy who got saved. It was Morgan, who remember he refused to kill him. And
This guy actually ended up doing something heroic because he saved the lesbian doctor or the mock doctor. Kind of. Oh, that horrible character. Oh my fucking god. This fucking Orange Crush. Get the fuck out of here. The Orange Crush. Orange is the new black. I hate this shit. And yes, it's the people you're not allowed to talk about who make this show. They make all your shows, they make all your movies, and they push all these things into your brain because they want to fuck you up. They really do. It's the best way to control people is to get everybody. And you could say that. I mean, the argument that, what Rob said before when we started off the show, in many ways, The Walking Dead does make you distrust fellow human beings because it strips away how civilized human beings act. You take away civilization, and then all of a sudden people become monsters pretty quickly. Well, how quick would it take? Like people, like there's a lot of fear porn with EMPs, and when it comes to EMPs, if any EMP ever does go off, darn well who's responsible, and it ain't some fucking fat boy in North Korea. So please don't ever, if EMP and you all of a sudden you're out of power and you're out of power for months on end, if not forever. How quick would shit hit the fan? I would say within like maybe not right away because people wouldn't know, but I guess when people start trying to start up their cars and they don't
It's,
work,
it's the people in the big cities that would suffer the most.
it would happen real quick. Civilization would break down
In the big
faster
cities,
than you would know.
if
And
you're out in the country in rural
yeah,
aries, there would be a bit of a delay. You'd probably still be able to survive. You'd just be cut off. There would be no internet. You wouldn't be able to be connected to people outside. In the city, it'd be a lot more impact because there's a lot more people crushed together
oh,
in a small
people,
space.
most people have enough food and water for like 2 days.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah. So the grocery stores were shut down. They're,
groceries have
it'd be horrible.
supplies.
The country would be a bit different because you have food that's more accessible to a smaller group.
Yeah, but like I know probably most people have heard this because most people listening are much more in tune with reality.
Yeah.
But like your average grocery store has 3 days worth of food. That is in a regular situation, which means if they don't replace all the food on the shelves within 3 days, there's no food on the shelves. Everything would be gone. So they're constantly restocking. If you ever worked at a grocery store, grocery stores, most of the busy ones are open all night. I mean, they're not open to the public, but all night long, people are stocking shelves and refilling everything because everything gets bought really quickly. So it all depends on the whole transport system. So, you know, like in a huge city like Montreal, you got this massive port and you've got the rail lines, you got the trucks, you got everything that's moving. The whole civilization keeps everything. The minute that stops is the minute people start going losing their shit. And all of a sudden, everything that you used to worry about becomes trivial. All of a sudden, you know, like you're worried about basic things, food, shelter, safety, water, you know, I mean, like you're just water first, food second, shelter.
and, and survival skills, education on survival skills. I mean, a lot of people don't have that, especially inner city people. They don't have the survival skills to be able to survive outside of going to a store and buying some shit.
Well, also guns, so gun control. If
Yeah.
civilization breaks down, your most useful item would instantly be a gun, instantly, because you could hunt with it, you could protect yourself with it.
Slingshot,
It would be
crossbow.
the difference between life and death, literally.
Yeah,
So all of a sudden, guns would become the most important item, without a doubt, instantly.
absolutely.
Now, you could say food, yes, food and water, but you're not going to have food and water if somebody's pointing a gun at you.
But
You're gonna be
Jeff,
dead.
let's also just throw into that list crossbows, slingshots, and pointy sticks.
Yes, crossbows could be pretty handy. Slingshots, well, maybe for taking out squirrels. Pointy sticks for sure, because you know, I actually want to get into archery because I think that would be a really important skill if the apocalypse happened, because it'd be a lot easier to make bows than it would be to make bullets. And it's interesting, making bullets is somewhat of a theme on The Walking Dead. In fact, what does it that Negan? So let's talk about it for a second. Their headquarters.
Yeah, let's talk about Eugene because he represents an entire demographic that really isn't portrayed on The Walking Dead very often.
Yeah, so the Saviors, what is it called? Their compound? It's a foundry, right? It's like a big fucking steel mill or something, right? What they
Yeah,
have. That's why he has the iron and shit like that. Like it's a plant for producing things,
crap.
right?
I'm
The
trying to think of the
foundry.
name, and I can't.
We'll just see what they say here because it's pretty similar, if I'm not mistaken. So, the sanctuary. Nothing is known about the sanctuary before
It is a sanctuary.
It was a factory, but yeah, it's a factory, so it has a foundry in it. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah,
And
it was
one of the
factory.
yeah, so one of the things that I mean, instantly that is this is civilization. Like if you play Warcraft or something like that, you know, like you know,
Can you upgrade this part?
yeah, you know, you need like if you want to compete with the Joneses sort of thing, and they've got a foundry, you're going to be if they got iron and you've got like wood sticks, you're in trouble real quick. That's why you have
Iron
like,
Age, you're in the
Iron
Brass
Age.
Age.
Yeah, the brass or the Iron Age, the brass. Well, I mean the Brass Age, Copper Age.
If you're in the Iron Age,
Mhm.
And the other guy's in a brass age. The other guys are fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just can you make the strongest metal? So, and then that makes stronger weapons, that makes stronger buildings, that makes stronger everything. So all of a sudden, you got stronger forts, you got stronger fences, you got stronger everything. So making bullets would be a ginormous thing in this apocalyptic world because after a few years, bullets would be extremely scarce.
Yeah. It's
Guns
also a
would
big point in
probably be
Fallout 3.
yeah, guns. Yeah, if it was like Fallout 3, you'd never have to worry because you just
Well,
look.
you can make
You,
bullets. So
you would find bullets in Fallout 3 if you killed like a
you can
fucking
make bullets at benches, though.
yeah, yeah. It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's
Now
interesting
you can keep the
the way they
brass
do that, isn't it?
casings from all your encounters
Yeah,
and literally make new bullets. You just have to get other things. You got to get like there's random artifacts like detergents and things that you can find at like different shops and what have you.
yeah.
But
So the compound here, the factory that they function out of is not only symbolic, but it's also functional. And it's like their whole civilization here, talking about the saviors is very interesting, in fact, because what you have with the saviors is like we were talking about Negan. So we talked about Negan's leadership, and Negan is a dictator for sure. He's a classic dictator. He's very charismatic. So, and he's not like people think he's the most brutal guy in the world, but he's very calculated in how he uses violence. He doesn't use violence unless he absolutely has to set an example. So you could argue for sure that Rick and his group end up killing a lot more people than perhaps even the saviors kill because a different philosophy on how to control people. With Negan, he uses that extreme violence, like the drawn and quartered that we showed before, to keep people in line so that people are shocked and they're like, I never want to be the guy with the iron pressed to his face. I want to be
and
like
you know
Dwight.
what? Actually, you bring up a really good point, and I'll tell you what it is here because like Negan uses it as a method to display in order to not have to exact a regular itinerary of killing.
Yes.
So, in making it a public spectacle, it's been done. Whereas in Rick Grimes' case, he almost has to make a regular itinerary of killing just to survive because he hasn't actually facilitated his king of the castle stance. He's always been gotten fucked over.
Yeah.
To
But
the
with
entire
Rick,
8 seasons.
and Co. Now you have Rick as the leader, and he's unquestionably the leader. But he does listen to his soldiers around or his people around him. Now they live in a much better sort of situation. The people, like the ordinary folks, almost very similar to today's sort of suburbanites, where they're protected by the walls and they just have to do what they do in their civilization. So if it means making big meals for people or for being somebody in charge of the inventory or being somebody in charge of weapons or whatever your job is, you've got a
Yeah.
job. In the saviors is much different. So the saviors has a caste system, much like the Indian sort of caste system. So the saviors have different hierarchy. You have Negan at the top, and so the compound here mirrors that. Like it's very symbolic, where
Right.
you have I have the phallic sort of symbol at the top too. That's where Negan's harem is. It's at the top of this factory, and as
Oh,
you
where
go
there's three
down,
boners?
yeah, where as you go down, you have your lieutenants, right? So you have people like Dwight and some of the other ones that have their own rooms, they have their own fridges. Eugene has his own fridge, he has his own pickle jar. He's got like eggs and cheese and stuff in the fridge. I mean, it's like the lieutenants live very well. So you'd have Negan at the top. He's the total dictator. He has a harem. He has everything that he wants. Below him, you have Simon, right? Number two. So we haven't really seen what Simon has, but I'm sure he has a nice pad. He probably doesn't have more than one or two women, but he has a nice pad and all that, and he's second in command. So if anything happens to Negan, he takes over. But then you have the lieutenants. So you got people like Dwight, and you have Eugene, who's worked his way up, and some of the other ones. They
Simon.
have a pretty comfortable living too. They are allowed to take whatever they want. So like they go down. So as you make your way down, you get to the bottom, and in the bottom, that's where the workers. So much like insects, like you can compare
Yeah.
them to ants, where you have like a king, a queen ant or something. Well, here you have the patriarchy. So you have your king bee or your king at the top, which is Negan. Then you have his lieutenants. Then you have the soldiers. So the soldiers come in, and they're the grunts that go out and brutalize and do all the hard. You know, they don't necessarily they don't do the work. They don't produce the food. They don't do the farming. They don't do all the
Mm.
production and stuff like that. But they are the muscle, and they go out and they beat up people and they take things and they fight. So they have a higher status. The lowest are the workers, and the workers are and we've seen that. And I thought some, like, not this season, but the season before, did a great job. Like that scene where Dwight is making a sandwich. Do you remember that?
I do.
So if I'm going to put this in because it's actually an excellent scene. Dwight. Uh,
Right after that, I'm going to throw you motherfuckers for a loop because I have a theory on Negan on this.
Good, good. I'm going to hear this. So,
This.
yeah. So Dwight is one of the lieutenants. He's high up in the ranking. So he gets to take what he wants. So there's a lineup and he just buds right ahead of everyone. He takes a whole loaf of bread. He doesn't have to say anything to these people. He takes whatever he wants. When he sees one of the other guys getting the shit kicked out of them, right? One of the workers, and they basically kill this guy. They kill one of the workers. He just comes in right after and raids that guy's cot, like his trunk or whatever he had, where he had his stuff, and he takes. That's where he steals the pickles and he steals I think it's like mustard or something. And so like the symbolism, because at the end this is what you see. He's sitting out, he's watching the workers, he's eating an egg sandwich, he's got like tomatoes, he's got
Big ass.
which he stole it from the guy that was brutally killed by the same because he didn't do something, or he fucked up somehow.
Pie pickle.
Quota. So the workers are they have to make a quota. They have to be able, and what the workers get is life, which means it's pretty brutal. They are not eating well, or we don't really know. We don't think they're eating well. They're definitely living off rations, but they're safe. They're within the compound. The biggest danger to them are the saviors themselves. So this scene, I think, is one of the best scenes in all of The Walking Dead. That episode where you had that, and it was, to me, it was great because you got to see how the saviors function as a civilization, and you could see, well, there's a whole hierarchy, there's this whole working class, which is 90% of the population, and
Hang on, that was season 7 though, wasn't it?
yeah, it was like, I think it was early season 7 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it was around the time that Daryl was kidnapped.
Yeah, exactly. It was right at that time when Daryl's, and that's where you first really get to see. Yeah, this is the scene where he's raiding. So this kid here and his mother, their father, or her husband, this guy's father, was just brutally beaten to death by the saviors. Dwight doesn't give a shit. He just comes in, immediately goes into that guy's trunk, takes the mustard, takes the pickles, and they're just looking at him. They don't dare say anything. So you get to see what it's like for the workers. Now, so the workers, you'd be like, well, why would they put up with that? Well, it's probably better than being zombie lunch, right? So, as bad as it is working in a shitty fucking thing, it's a million times better than being outside and having, zombies trying to eat your liver.
It still makes Dwight a dickhead though.
Yeah, but it makes Dwight a dickhead, but then again, he's a dickhead with his face half burned off, and you don't really know his full story
Until later.
Yeah. So I mean, like, nobody in a situation like this is gonna be completely clean and completely awesome. Everybody's gonna.
I agree. I agree with you, but I'm just putting it on the table so that people know that his morality has been compromised by his experience.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But you see, what you see here, Walking Dead, we'll put Eugene and Savior
Dwight.
Compound, where the scene compound, where you see Eugene doing the exact same thing, where once he starts to get his balls a little bit bigger, a little bit more brassier,
Sort of.
And he starts butting in line, and he starts taking shit, and then people start questioning him. He says, like, you want to question me? I'll call Negan right now. And they're like, okay, fuck no, we're not going to question you. So he quickly moves up the rank. Then you've got Negan's wives, his harem. So these are 3 of his wives. How many wives does he have? That it's like, it looks like he's got like 15 or 20 or something like that.
I was going to say 7, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. He's up in his penthouse. He's got a bunch of wives. They dress like this sexily, and they're they're there for Negan, right? He's gonna. That's what he does. That's the type. And there's the doctor. Now, I think it was Donnie Darko in the chat correctly said that the doctor wasn't burned by the iron. He got the full meal deal. He was thrown into the fucking fire pit. You remember that? He just threw him in face first.
Oh, just threw him in like, yeah. Freaking tits over a tea kettle.
Exactly. And that was Dwight that set him up, because Dwight was trying to deflect.
That was the old doctor.
Yeah, Dwight's girlfriend, who we haven't seen since, right? Remember, she's pretty hot, and she's like maybe the hottest Negan wife, and she escapes. And so Negan is like, what the fuck happened to my wife? And so Dwight plants a note on the doctor, and the doctor ends up getting thrown into the fire face first, sort of thing. But they come to him and they try to get him to kill Negan. So like they get him to make a couple pills. They want him to make a death pill, like a pill that will kill somebody. And then they don't tell him why. And then eventually he figures it out. He's like, this is for Negan. It's not for this girl or like that.
But actually, guess who gets that one?
Yeah. Sonia or whatever. Is it Sasha? Sasha.
Sasha.
Sonia. Sonja.
Sonia. Red Sonia.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Sasha.
Interesting.
That was actually not a horrible episode at the end of season 7.
I wish they showed a lot more of this, because this is the stuff that interests me. I like to look at a post-apocalyptic world and how a thing like the Saviors would function. And so maybe we didn't see enough of that, say, with the Terminus and with some of the other areas. I mean, I think Woodbury, there was a pretty long season. That was the Governor. I think it was season 2. Where it was like
that would be season 3 with the government. The Governor would be the end of season 3, going into season 4.
To the farm. Okay,
and then into season fucking 5.
Yeah,
it was like, we're going to war. And it just
Carl
talking about going to war with
Carl.
Remember? Do you remember that?
We're going to war. Yeah, so
we're going to war, and they spent the whole next season talking about going to war. And then they did the backstory with the Governor. I think they went into season 6 almost. With the Governor still.
So yeah, these were my favorite episodes, because I was like, I wanted to see how this whole thing functioned, because you have to, if you're going to have establishment of some sort of dictatorship like Negan, there has to be a hierarchy, there has to be a sort of thing. And this makes sense. Like, this actually does make sense. In many ways, Negan's sort of dictatorship does work. This is tried, tested, and true. Dictatorships are still around today. Absolutely, man. I mean, there's a lot of them.
I have to say, it was good to see how somebody runs business in another camp.
Yeah, well, that's
outside of the Rick Grimes, outside of the other fucking.
Well, because Alexandria is like it's you're like, so Alexandria. We did a whole show on that. I think you were on that one too.
I was, yeah.
Alexandria is sustainable development,
and they took out the owner.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that there is actually a town in Virginia. And this is when I did the whole podcast breaking this down. Is that there is a town in Virginia that's right on the border of Washington, D.C., and it's called Alexandria, and it's like the sustainable development experiment for United States. It's like the one town where they're trying out all this Agenda 2030 stuff.
I'll be right back in 3 minutes, guy.
No problem, no problem. So yeah, the Walking Dead Alexandria. So these are the stuff that I find really interesting with breaking down these shows, because they are showing a lot of what is to come. So with Alexandria, you had this one fortified town that was largely spared, and almost completely spared from everything that happened in the first year or 2 or 3, 4 years. I don't really know how long the whole thing has been going on by the time that Rick Grimes and his crew get to Alexandria. But you had this, and when you go in there, it looks almost idyllic. You've got these row homes, and people got flowers and stuff out, and then there's sustainable development. So you've got like solar panels and stuff like that, geothermal, and then they've got their pond here, which presumably they could stock fish in and stuff like that. In many ways, this does represent the New World Order and a lot of what they're envisioning for a future, a sustainable development, a sort of, world. If you look at Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, you look at it, they are rebuilding many communities in the world to have these types of things. To have, like in Montreal, there's several examples that I could give all over that, like that they want to condition people into this term. The biggest terms you're ever going to hear over the next 20, 30 years, without a doubt, are sustainable development. There's no doubt about it. I talk about this all the time. If you're somebody that is unfamiliar with the other work that I've done on New World Agenda and Free Radio Revolution, I talk about this all the time. Sustainable development is everything. It's what the United Nations is all about. It's what Agenda 2030 is all about. Everything that they are trying to do is condition people into this mentality of sustainable development. This is why global warming is such a huge part. So The Walking Dead, using sustainable development and using a town specifically called Alexandria, which is also a metaphor for the lighthouse of Alexandria in Egyptian times. But the town of Alexandria in North Virginia is very similar, where they're doing all the sustainable development stuff, and they're bringing in solar panels and geothermal and everything else. And they are mirroring this in this. So you had a government, you had I don't know if it was a senator or I think it was a congresswoman, Deanna, who happened to be the leader of this community. And they were soft when Rick and his gang came in. Rick and his gang were like wild, coyotes. They were battle hardened. They were tough as nails, and they had been there, done it, sold a t-shirt. And these people were living in this happy-go-lucky sort of community and were largely unscathed by much of what was going on. And in many ways, this does represent suburbia and the naivete of a lot of people within current world, that they don't see the forest for the trees. They can't see that everything that is happening is all part of a massive plan, that there actually is a new world order. You're living in it right now, and everything is moving towards it. The new world order is a globalized system, and it's going to have a centralized government. And so, the theme of government, of leadership, is a huge part of the whole Walking Dead show. And so you see this rise up again and again. So comparing and contrasting, and I did a whole podcast with Robert, I think Press might have been on that one as well, talking about Alexandria, what it meant, why they're using it. Like they actually obviously put a lot of budget into this. As you see, they created this might be actual homes that they took and they just built this massive fence around, but nonetheless, it's a pretty impressive set that they have there. And we actually went through the virtual set. I remember doing that as well. You remember that,
by the way?
What's that?
I'm back. Hey, it reminds me completely of, remember the massive zombie swarm that came across Alexandria?
Yep.
And they have to go through this whole big ruckus. Now, that was dramatic and all that. However, they try to recreate that in season 8. They try to recreate that to use as a weapon against the sanctuary. And remember, they had all these cars with welded bits of plate steel and all these and it was rather brilliant. I have to give them credit there, but the writing sucked because we got dragged through 4 episodes where we had no idea what their plan was. So there was no urgency. Like, you couldn't actually get emotionally invested in what they were trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
I think there's a lot of bad writing on this show.
Oh, it was horrible. This is the most horrible season ever, with the exception of Carl getting bit. But anyway, I digress. But let me go back to those first 4 episodes. Like, it was so detached. It was almost like they were trying to do the I don't know if anyone's read the book Catch 22.
Of course, yeah.
In that book, Catch 22, what they did was is that they basically recycled the same experience from all of
War
the
is
different
hell. You have
characters.
yeah, war is hell.
Yeah,
You have
and
to be
it's
crazy, but if you're crazy, you can't fight. But you have to be crazy to fight.
yeah, and if you say you're crazy, then you must be sane.
Yeah, so you must be well enough to fight. So the guys that
Yeah,
are
yeah,
saying
then
they're
you're good enough to
crazy
go.
so that they could get out of fighting, and then the leaders are telling them, well, you have to be crazy to fight. So therefore, you're fine. Go out and fight. That was
Yeah,
catch
yeah,
20.
go on out. And we
Yeah,
just
yeah, that's
extended
the
your runs
classic
to
book.
another
That's
72 runs now.
another classic. Yeah, great, great, great book. Um,
Joseph Heller. If nobody's
Joseph
read it,
Keller, exactly.
amazing
I
book.
was like Joseph. It's Joseph, not Conrad. That
No,
was
Joseph Heller.
Heller or Keller.
Joseph Heller.
Heller. Okay, yeah, definitely check out that. That is a hilarious book. I mean, it's like takes war, and it puts a comedic spin on it, like how crazy it is, because it is crazy, right? But
And
it is a
very horrible.
reality.
And very
So
horrible.
yeah, so the theme. So what is Walking Dead now? Season 8 is what is it called? War or open war or what is it?
Oh, all out war.
All out war.
And this is
Imagine if I put
a comic book. The comic book it's almost pitched as a miniseries. It's called All Out War, and the comic book actually handles it like so good.
I'm gonna have to read it, but I'm gonna have to wait. I don't want to get ahead of the show because then I feel like, well, you know,
They've already gone past it now because
well, the show is ahead of the comic books now.
well, they've already
Good, actually.
they've gone and well, we'll just you know, okay, let's just say they killed Carl. That they just shit on 3 different storylines that are supposed to come out of the comic book that he will not be part of now.
Well, you know,
I mean, the divergence from the comic book is I don't know. I don't know where they're going with it.
the
now.
interesting things that they do too. It's like the interracial, like the main couple, with Michonne. Like, I mean, and again, I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem whatsoever. But the people that
I
create,
actually thought that was kind of clever and
the
kind of
people that
sweet.
you're not allowed to talk about never do this
Yeah.
shit. So they want.
Well, they found each other and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great,
No, I
you know.
mean, like they're believable as a couple for sure. They're good actors.
So is Daryl and Carol. Hey, that rhymed.
Isn't Daryl supposed to be gay, though? Look at him. Look at him here.
But no, now she's got a hard on for the for Ezekiel.
That's bad. They're saying, okay, so if I put in Walking Dead and I put Daryl and I put gay, guaranteed to get a shitload of articles and stories dealing with Daryl being gay. Look at that.
Oh, there's Daryl Gay smoking a cigarette.
He got out of the compound. The show Oz. Did you ever watch that show?
No, I never really got into that one.
Oh my fucking god. That in many ways you wouldn't have these shows unless you had shows like Oz. Oz was one of the first shows to normalize homosexuality. In fact, in many ways, Oz, much like Orange is the New Black, produced by the same people you're not allowed to talk about, is all about normalizing these abnormal behaviors and conditioning people, mind controlling them. In fact, I could go back, like I watched Oz when it came out regularly. It was like a Friday night show. It was like a train wreck. I mean, honestly, the show was the most violent show ever. It was it's like The Walking Dead on stage.
I saw season 1.
Yes, it's like, you know, often 2, 3, 4 people would die in a show, and they would up the ante about how brutally they would kill them. And
yes,
but the show covered so many New World Order themes. It's out of this world. But back then, I wasn't in tune to how much it was programming. Now it all makes sense. But back then, I was like, yeah, this is really cutting edge TV. I don't like the faggot shit, but yeah, it's really cutting edge. Now you could go back and you could look. And if people aren't familiar with the show Oz, Oz was the first, if I'm not mistaken, HBO show. It even preceded The Sopranos, and this show was about well,
I don't even think Sopranos was HBO to begin with. Not in the beginning.
This show broke so many barriers, and it had some of the most memorable, like fucking psychopathic characters, like this guy. Vern Schillinger, who is the leader of the Aryan Nation in the show, is pretty fucking crazy show. Extreme violence.
He's a good actor, that guy.
All like the cast is fantastic in this. This guy is probably one of the best here. I can't pronounce his name. Simon Abedodawa. But he's fantastic in the show. But yeah, the homosexuality thing is a huge part of it. And it's really crazy because they weave it in. It doesn't start off like that. It just weaves in. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry to.
and it makes it acceptable.
It's like, no, never want to see that. No, sorry. But yeah.
Wasn't that guy the pilot of the Nebuchadnezzar in Matrix?
Which guy?
The black dude that you just saw there.
Yeah, the black guy. He was in Lost, and yeah, he's very well known. He was the wheelchair guy. The police took him. He was arrested. He was banging his girlfriend, I remember, because they have these flashbacks in the show, and they took him because he shot one of the cops that was busting him, that broke into his place, and they threw him off like a 6-story building or something, and he broke his legs, and so he was in a wheelchair. So he's a victim of racism and that type of shit. But yeah, you had this feminization of, and a big part of it was, like there's all these different groups. You had the Aryans, you had their bitches. So there was actually a group of people that were basically fag toys for the inmates, and they would make them dress up.
I'm gonna say the girl with the pigtails is a dude.
It's a dude. Yeah, it's fucking dude. I mean, they're all dudes. But yeah, if you haven't seen this show, I don't know if I would recommend it, but it would certainly be an astonishing show to break down, to show you the New World Order and how much of it was pushed into this show. Also, I think one of the major components of this show was to normalize homosexuality. Because back then, this is like the late 90s, it was a time when none of this stuff was normalized. So they weaved it in because it wasn't right away. It was like in the beginning, homosexuality is just, it's rape. And it's like horrible people like this guy that were, brutally raping, lesser or, wimpier sort of men and dominating, establishing their dominance. But then as they went through the 3rd, 4th season, all of a sudden romances sprung up.
Yeah.
And
right around the same time, Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined series, was out, and that was normalizing artificial intelligence and robotics.
And the reversal of roles where Starbuck
and anti-heroes.
Who is Starbuck, right? Remember,
Starbuck is a female now.
Yeah, Starbuck.
Series.
In Starbuck, Battlestar Galactica, Battlestar. In the original,
he was a
it was this guy.
Dude.
It's this guy, the face guy, right?
Yeah, there he is.
Like, yeah, it's just your typical alpha male sort of.
And they made Starbuck a kick-ass woman instead.
Yeah, and then it became this girl, and it's like this. And look, she's wearing a cube. Oh my! Is Black Mystery Cube in the chat?
Something like that.
Nah, if you see, it's amazing. The cube symbolism pops up everywhere. I watched this show, Rob, so I know it quite well, and it's actually a very, very good science fiction.
Well
show.
Done, the best of its time, I have to say.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was so well. The cinematography was amazing. Up until season 3, the writing was amazing. They kind of went on a god kind of a kick for the. The one and almighty God.
That show,
you know what it did? It drew in a crux between polytheism and monotheism.
Yes,
and it did it from a reverse perception. It was the polytheists, and guess who it was? It was robotics and the synthetic groups that were believing in monotheism. And that's some heavy predictive programming.
There was so much in the show.
Absolutely.
It was around the time 9/11 too. And if you think about it, so much of it mirrored what was happening with 9/11. It was like you're either with us or you're against them. Also, the what are they called? Cylons?
Cylons, yeah.
The Cylons, you didn't know who was human and you didn't know who was a Cylon. And then they threw massive twist into the show where, like, several seasons in, some of the major characters that were seemingly the most human were Cylons. Remember that? It's like, holy fuck?
Yeah,
And then
well, there was 12 models, and it said it from the very beginning, but you only knew three of them. And
yeah,
by season three, you finally knew who all 12 models were.
yeah,
And
that's
there's
right.
multiple copies of them. Remember?
Yeah,
But here's the best thing, and here's the sales pitch. In 1999 is when they launched the miniseries of Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined series, where Caprica goes down, all of the colonies go down, the Cylons completely destroy all of the human colonies, and it was 2 years later that the Twin Towers go down.
yeah. I
Like it
mean,
was almost like I don't know, like there's some
I
kind
know
of
what's going on. It's all to mirror. That's why
to
when I say
mirror it. Yeah, exactly.
like the 9/11 themes in Battlestar
Oh,
Galactica.
hey, that's the Last Supper. What you're showing,
Hmm? And guess who's Jesus? The Cylon babe,
the
the sex
Cylon
toy,
maid.
the Cylon android sex toy.
Her name is Trisha Helfer.
Yeah, that's crazy though, eh? Like this show definitely is another one of these shows.
Yeah.
It's like don't think that me and Rob are encouraging people to watch TV. It's not about that. The
No.
fact that most people are watching this shit and we're all being programmed by it. It's better to be cognizant that this is programming and to see what they're trying to do and what they're trying to show you. It's not all bad because I'm sure most people, a lot of the actors wouldn't know about the New World Order and shit and wouldn't necessarily. So they put honest effort into it, and there's a lot of creative things, and there's not necessarily everything that has evil intentions necessarily produces evil, or like sometimes there's a silver lining to some of their propaganda. Sometimes it can backfire. Sometimes if
But
you
there's
see.
injections. There's injections of things that they put into the programming. There's injections into the script or into the visuals,
Yeah,
like the red dress, right there.
yeah, of
I
course.
mean that's like the red
See,
dress.
for me, like this is what I do with Supreme Lord Commander. Like it's about watching and showing how our entertainment is mirroring and conditioning us and predictively programming us, gaslighting us, doing all these things to us. Now, like for instance, when I'm playing the video games, I always try to have fun. So whether I'm doing a podcast, I'm having fun. Whether I'm having a conversation, I'm having fun. If I'm at work, I'm having fun. If I'm doing a podcast here with Robert J. Morris, I'm having fun because I like to have fun, period, because life is too short. So like I can play a video game and I can have a blast doing it, but it doesn't mean I'm saying, hey, it's wonderful to play video games, because I spend a lot of the time when I'm playing the video games and talking about it, saying like what they're doing and how they're conditioning you, and look at what they're doing with this and look at how they're doing that. So, I don't want people to think that either of us are here to try to promote this stuff. In fact,
Yeah. Well, hey,
my
may I say this, Jeff? Awareness breaks the spell.
Mhm.
Like if you're aware of what you're working with and the material that you're actually being subjected to, that breaks the
yes,
spell.
I agree wholeheartedly. In fact, it can help too, because all of us can say, look at how this mirrors exactly what's going on. Look, how is it possible, for instance, with The Walking Dead? Like I talked about the scene with Ezekiel, where he leads all his people and they all get gunned down by a superpowered a gun, like a mounted
50 cal.
decal gun. You ever fire those?
Yeah.
Those are fucking crazy, man. But yeah, you could slice. I mean, you could fucking cut a car in half, sort of thing, with those. That of course came out just a week or two after, or yeah, after the whole Las Vegas shooting happened. And it's very much the same thing, where it's a group of people that are caught out in the open and they're gunned down and they had no idea it was going to happen, sort of thing. Um, that's not a coincidence. These things are not coincidental. In the movie The Dark Knight Rises, is it The Dark Knight Rises? Yes. Commissioner Gordon says, "You're a detective now. You can't believe in coincidences." He says it twice in the film, and I worked on that a lot during the Sandy Hook thing, because, of course, Sandy Hook was a big theme in The Dark Knight Rises and in the other all of the all of the Christopher Nolan and his brother and his wife are the people that are producing Westworld. Rob, we got to do a show on Westworld, right?
Oh Jesus, really?
You seen it?
Oh fuck yeah, the whole first season.
Hmm.
I've got my complaints about that show too.
Mm-hmm. But this is a great way to reach people because the new season's coming out. So
well, I have to see what they have planned for the new season because the last season,
but there's so much that they're showing in this.
Yeah, but all we got from the new season.
What's the android?
The bitch got out.
What's the the bitch there, the Thandie Newton.
Yeah,
walking around.
She got out, and we had the big reveal that the dark cowboy was actually the young dude, and it was actually 2 different time frames. That was a huge reveal. I don't know what they're going to do to top that.
Mm-hmm.
They could have kept that going.
What we've got with Westworld, okay, in many different things, is you've got the virtual reality, sort of the blurring between what is real and what is not real. You've got the massive transhumanism,
and
robotics,
also 50 years of evolution and our displacement and our linear experience of what's been going on, because up until the final episode of the first season, we didn't even know that the young dude was actually the Dark Traveler. I thought that was a great. So like
the Man in Black, of course,
it separated time and space.
The Man in Black. Now we could talk about the white male, of course. Again, Anthony Hopkins representing the white patriarchy that needs to fall. This theme. The theme is in everything. If you start to pay attention, you folks that are listening to this, how many of the bad guys are white males? You're going to have a hard time finding a bad guy who isn't a white male in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020.
Except for the black dude, but he was programmed that way.
But even in the Stephen King Dark Tower, in the books, the Man in Black is actually black, but in the movie, the Man in Black is white, and the Traveler, the good guy, the protagonist, is black. Everything that these people do, like what they do, okay, I think most people that listen to me know this, okay, so there's a certain group of people you're not allowed to talk about. They control all of our media. They control Hollywood. They control what we see. And they are specifically putting us all through this programming. They are programming us all with everything. Everything mirrors what's happening. The whole Me Too. Like, for instance, check this out. I had this lined up. Look at this. Negan, Me Too. Now, you know the song Me Too. Do you know the song Me Too?
Negative.
Okay. So, Me Too. This is something. I did a video on this. Meghan Trainor. Rob, 409 million views.
How the fuck do you manage that?
How do you? Well, it's an awful song. The lyrics are about narcissism, lesbianism, self-worship, which is narcissism anyways. I hate men. There's not a man in the video. There's not a man in this fucking video. I think the only man is like a driver of her car or something. And it's like all about how it's me. There's a man. Okay, so there's one who's opening the red door for her, but it's all her and her friends driving around.
It sounds like a Katy Perry video.
She's saying, like, if I was you, I would want to be me too. If I was you, I'd want to be me too. If I was you, I'd want to be me too. I'm the best thing ever. I don't have anything to do with men. I'm an obese, or obese. She's purposely chunky women, normalizing the unhealthy sort of lifestyles that which is not just physical, it's mental. This video is such a mind fuck. The coloring, right? You got cyan coloring here. Like, everything means something. So
your clothes are the same color as the background.
Yeah, so Me Too, of course. Do I have to explain it to folks? I mean, everybody must. You'd have to live under a rock not to know.
You might have to explain it.
Yeah, everywhere. Me Too. Every single day. This is the biggest psyop Like sexual psyop ever in the history of humanity, there has never been a sexual psyop to even remotely compare to Me Too. It has changed the landscape. Everybody's got a story. Everyone's coming out. Everyone's under assault. You know, like every day there's new characters involved. Matt Damon today, you know, there's new people being
Matt Damon.
It's everywhere. Well, check this out. Negan, the alpha male who has a harem, who is a white male, and here you have the song by Meghan Trainor with Me Too, with Negan. This came out October the 13th here.
Jesus Christ.
Who's that sexy thing I see over there? On me. That's me. Boy. Standing in the mirror. What's that icy thing hanging around my neck? That's gold. Show me some respect.
I hope they use it. I want to make spaghetti line.
What's that?
I hope they use it. I want to make spaghetti line.
Anyways, I exposed this in a video, not this particular thing. I never knew this existed until just before the show. But here you go. Exactly what I'm saying. The white male with the phallic symbol. What is the symbol? Oh, it's a baseball bat, which is a penis with barbed wire.
Use to bash shit.
Do you get it?
Or bash pussies.
White men fucking up women. And that is the history that they want you to take in. They want you to hate the people.
It's very subtle.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very subtle. I mean, like...
It's evil, what's going on. It's evil. These people are evil.
Well, it's appropriation of psychology is what it is. Is that they're trying to create, I guess you could say, a reaction.
Well,
opinion.
They're trying to turn everyone against each other, especially against the majority, which is white people, especially white men.
Well, right now, the worst thing to be is an actual heterosexual white man.
Yes, they're trying to. They are taking down the patriarchy. There's no mistake about that. That's why we talk about the reversal of roles. When you look at Marvel Comics, there is no bigger propaganda in the history of the United States than comic books. Just understand this: comic books don't fucking worship any of these guys. Stan Lee, what's his name there that does Spawn? Todd McFarlane. Any of these fucking scumbags. Like, you could admire them for being good artists and stuff like that. That's fine. These people have always been part of the New World Order. There's been no bigger social conditioning than through kids' entertainment, whether it be
Sesame Street.
Books, Sesame Street. Oh my fucking Lord. New World Order Street. You know, like, whether, especially comic books. And if you think comic books, oh, no, they started off, it was Superman. No, what did Superman? The first episode of Superman is him fighting the Nazis.
Well, the Muppet Show wasn't New World Order, was it?
Which one?
The Muppet Show.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Oh,
Jim Henson? Massively. What is, okay, think about the Muppets just on the surface. Nobody is the same species. Like, nobody is the same species. Doesn't anybody find that? Who's the same species? Oh, the pigs. The pigs in space, and they're in space.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody else is. You've got the frog dating the big girl. You got the bear that nobody finds funny. You got the guy, the Gonzo guy. Nobody's the same. Fraggle Rock is another LGBT fucking.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. If you don't think Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Jim Henson wasn't a big part of the New World Order, definitely. There's no way. Like, look, it's easy to like the humor. I understand the humor's good. The characters are good. The puppets are good. They're the best. But
some of it's funny shit.
It's all about what they are trying to build. They are conditioning you. Nothing. And this goes all the way back. This is nothing new. They built up the patriarchy, and now they're tearing it down because they want to destroy us. They want to control us. And the best way to control us is to weaken us. And the best way to weaken us is to turn everyone against the majority, which is the white male. And that is why only the white male is fair game. You could say anything you want. You could put up a video on YouTube and you could say, I fucking hate white people. I hope they all die. I think we should kill them. Do you think
white heterosexual males?
You think YouTube would take that down? YouTube would probably put it on trending. They probably put it in the top 5 on trending. They'd be like, yeah, this is awesome. They don't get, I've said this to YouTube. I've written to that's why if you see my video today where I'm mocking the whole, Twitter's going to ban Nazis. So Twitter's going to ban Nazis, right? Yeah. What does that mean? Like, what's a Nazi? Well, technically a Nazi is supposed to be somebody that was part of the National Socialism Party in Germany circa, 30s, early 40s in Nazi Germany. So they identified and they were, they were fascist.
Jeff, one of the very first videos I ever put out on YouTube, other than my travel videos, was the one where a UN resolution was basically put out, and only 3 countries voted against, basically going against the Nazi regimes. And it was Canada, United States, and Ukraine. And that was a UN resolution where 60 some odd countries were against, and then about 100 countries were just on the fence about it.
United Nations, look at the Marvel movies. So the Marvel movies are fucking mind-blowing in terms of how much programming there is.
Absolutely.
Now, I've only done one that I can think of right now, but I'm going to do the Iron Man. I'm going to do I'm doing the Avengers. I'm doing it all.
We should do that together, because I watched all of the extended Marvel universe on Netflix. I mean, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. I watched Luke Cage, all of them.
Luke Cage was crazy.
My favorite one so far has been Punisher, but I digress.
Yeah, Luke Cage. Oh my God! In Luke Cage, there are unbelievable stereotypes of white people.
Absolutely.
Like the white male, and so Luke is supposed to represent, it's like that perfect black guy, and he makes all the white men sort of, nervous because his raw power, and he's so strong, and all the girls like him and all that. And so they depict the white men around him as beta males that are, hopelessly, they're just so cardboard character. It's just unbelievable. In fact, Luke Cage is pretty fucking bad as a show. It is like, I watched Daredevil, and
Daredevil was good.
Yeah, Daredevil, but it also has a lot of
seasons,
because it's Netflix, and it's all part of like the whole. I haven't seen Jessica Jones, okay, so I don't know about that one, but they're all part of the same thing, and they're in a new show called The Defenders.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Watch Jessica Jones, and then watch Iron Fist,
and
then watch The Defenders, and then watch Punisher. Punisher by far is the best, but it's even more predictive programming.
But isn't he a white male who is using his tools to fuck things up? And he
just gets fucked up by everybody else. Punisher is really probably the most violent and realistic extended Marvel Universe show that they've come out with so far.
Well, I'm gonna check it out, because I think the Shane there from the Walking Dead, really show Daredevil was a perfect sort of guy to play the role of Punisher.
Yeah, and they brought him back for the Punisher series, and they did really well with that. That's actually my favorite out of all of them. I watched Iron Fist.
I heard
I was like, Did you watch Iron Fist?
Nope. I've only seen Daredevil, and I saw, unfortunately, Luke Cage. Now, Luke Cage, first few episodes are really good, but then it becomes like he is the crusader. He is saving all the ethnic people, whether it's Chinese people or it's Indian people. Luke Cage. Luke Cage is the best. All the white people are corrupt. They're all, they're just like cardboard characters. And then by halfway through the season, the show really starts to get stupid. And it's almost an insult. In fact, you can look back at some of the 60s, 70s shows and just, oh my God, look at the stereotypes. Wait till like 10, 15 years you go by and you go back and watch Luke Cage. You'll be like, holy shit, this stuff. Oh my God.
Jessica Jones will restore your faith in white people, because it's just a white drunk bitch.
The white drunk bitch who kicks ass, I imagine, right?
She kicks a lot of ass without even trying.
I'd like to see, what is she, like $120? What would you say, $115?
Like that.
I like to see any girl on the planet that's like 100 and who's not a mixed martial artist beat up a 200-pound guy. I like to see that. That would never happen ever.
She'll throw him over a trailer. No, she's got super
all
strength.
these movies that show
She can
these
jump.
scrawny little beautiful girls beating the shit out of the great big guys. Never would that happen in real life.
It's a thing now.
They would be broken. They would be snapped in half. I mean, get the fuck out of here. It's fucking retarded. Why do you think they have weight classes in fucking martial arts and shit like that? Men are much stronger and much more powerful, and that is just a fact. But they are reversing the roles. They want women to be like men, and they want men to be like women. And that is exactly what's going on. If you look at all the comic book movies, they're doing the same thing. Look at if you get a chance, have you seen Logan, by the way?
Absolutely. Awesome movie.
Yeah, it is. It's an awesome. Oh my god, the programming though. Holy
it is.
shit.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's a great movie, but fuck if it doesn't have major fucking New World Order programming in it.
I literally just watched Logan tonight with my female friend here. We just watched it tonight, actually, and it's the third time that I've seen it, and I keep analyzing it as I watch it. It's like the end of the mutants.
Oh well, and not only that, but it's the white male.
Hang on, it's kind of like a New World Order message because it's the end of the mutants, but the new mutants are created and controlled by the system.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
Because they kill off the last three remaining ones that you know of in the movie. Like they kill off Xavier, they kill off the vampire dude, and they kill off Logan.
Yeah.
And even kill off Logan's clone.
Yeah. Poor clone.
I have to say though, it was really well done. That was a really well produced movie.
Best Wolverine movie, hands down. That's like
best Wolverine. Actually, that was more like the comic. I thought it was extra funny how they brought up the X-Men comic in the movie.
By the way, did you know that? I didn't tell folks, but Wolverine, when I was a kid,
Wolverine was the most violent comic ever.
He was my favorite because he's Canadian. All right, so first of all, he's
the most violent.
Second of all, he fucking drank beer and he smoked cigars and he called people bub.
And he cut people's faces off.
And he fucking hated everyone, especially those faggoty fucking superheroes.
Yeah.
So he was the prototypical alpha tough guy, you know, although he was
Still
small.
Wore leotards though.
What's that?
Still wore leotards. In the comic book.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, Wolverine, yeah, very, very interesting character. So folks out there, I would actually, if there is a comic book movie that I'd recommend watching with a huge caveat, is definitely Logan, because it's balls to the wall. I mean, it's the most violent comic book movie you'll ever see. You'll actually see Wolverine actually fucking cut people's heads off, and you know,
that's the closest to the actual comic book I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because
so
the
I have
comic book was ultra violent.
I have the original Wolverine limited edition series, which is probably worth something, except every one of my roommates fucking read it. So, you know, it's not in great shape. But the thing is that those comic books were full of blood and all kinds of, and you know, Wolverine was clearly a heterosexual. There was none of that, even though the X-Men was a metaphor for homosexuality and lesbianism and all that, the LGBT. Wolverine,
X-Men.
Yeah, Wolverine was definitely a straight shooter. I mean, he wasn't fucked up. He wasn't going down Queer Avenue sort of thing with Joe Rogan and stuff. But yeah, you know, like it's going back and looking at the X-Men and understanding what they were about is very important, because all the X-Men movies now, all of them, Bryan Singer, who's being accused in the Me Too thing by teenage boys, you know, so Bryan Singer, you look at that, like, he's a wonderful actor, and he is one of the most flaming fucking motherfucking guys you'll ever see, which is the guy that plays Gandalf there in Magneto. In real life, I mean, that guy should just do acting 24 hours a day, because in real life he is just disgusting, but as an actor he's amazing.
There's bits and pieces of footage of him hanging off of Patrick Stewart.
Oh yeah, they make out every time they get together. You ever seen that?
Yeah, no, I saw bits of that. I was like, what?
I got video taken down because of that. Because every time he shows up with Patrick Stewart, they fucking French kiss for like a minute or two in front of everybody. And he did that with Conan O'Brien. So Patrick Stewart got up and fucking maked out with Conan O'Brien. And it's like, you know, we know who's responsible. We know what they're trying to do. And all I say to those people is, I don't know how you fucking live with yourself. I don't know why you would want to mess people up like this. I don't know why you would want to fucking try to ruin people and push people into degeneracy, because it is degeneracy. And it's insidious. The way
it's also normalization. I mean, like, you know, it's one thing to be risque. You know what I mean? Like, you be risque and like kind of. You remember when the Crying Game came out? Remember that movie?
Yeah, well, that's all part of it, right?
That's part of it. But the thing was, is that like, okay, it happened, and people moved on. But then when the culture kind of shifts towards that kind of thing, it starts to focus on it.
It's something they've done over and over again. This is what they do. They just all the time.
They plant the seeds and they keep on.
Yeah, they do it over and over again. They come in, they turn everybody against each other. They fucking fuck with everyone's sexuality. They fucking do this shit. They turn everyone against the majority. They're masters at this. It's not like, look, it's okay to be gay. It's fine. No problem. You could be gay. I don't care. It's fine. It's not normal. It's not fucking normal. It wouldn't be normal for tigers to be gay. There'd be no more tigers. So it's not normal. Okay? So don't pretend it is. Don't go into schools. Don't fucking reprogram all of society. Don't make Disney movies. Don't rewrite the Bible. Don't fucking make Jesus gay characters. Don't fucking, I mean, like, what they do over and over again is they fucking just turn us inside out, and they make it normal. They make mental illness normal. This whole this insidious plot with the mental illness. Bell Canada. I just want to you know, when they let's talk about what are you talking about? What is it? What, 10 years now? Let's talk every day. You got hockey games. Oh, hey, mental illness. Well, you've done a lot of good there. Thanks, Bell. Mental illness. There's more mentally ill people right now than there ever has been before, and there's more and more every day because you fucking assholes and your fucking propaganda and your fucking television and internet and everything else you're doing to people is driving people fucking miserable. And I have fucking had it, man. I have fucking had it, because it's like, I know what they're doing. I know how they're doing it. And I know that it's the most evil way. It's like saying, we care so much. We care so much. No, you don't care. You fucking hate us. Just come out and admit that you fucking hate us. You hate us. You hate us. You hate us. You hate all of us. You don't just hate the whites, you hate the blacks, you hate the Hispanics, you hate everyone. Everyone that's not you, you hate. And you want them to be twisted, you want them to be sick, you want them to be programmed, you want to control them. And it is so fucking disturbing to see how easy it is for them to do this.
Well, here in Canada, I don't know if people in the United States that I would be listening have any idea, but here it's the monopoly. It's Bell, Telus, Shaw, and Rogers, and they run the entire infrastructure here.
Yes, exactly. That's it. We got a cartel of media conglomerates that control everything. They charge the highest rates in the world for everything. So you got the highest internet rates, the highest cell phone rates, the highest telephone rates, the highest television rates, which God forbid you subject yourself to. Your television is mind control. Your movies are mind control. Your music is mind control. It's all mind control. Your media is mind control. This is what we try to wake people up. This is why, unfortunately, we have to partake in the consumption of some of their stuff. But I have to warn people. Like, I'll tell you this. I've said this a lot of times in the past, so maybe folks that are listening for the first time don't know this about me. But as a kid, like, I grew up in a really bad household, and I was always out. Always. I was building tree forts, building skateboard ramps, building fucking bike ramps, fucking getting in trouble all the time. I was always running away from home. I never watched television. That's why I'm awake. It's no other reason. I didn't watch Alex Jones. I didn't wake up with any of that shit. I did
watch G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Yeah, television to me was always mind control. So when I would watch it, I'd be like, why do people watch this shit? It's awful. You know, I watch movies, and I probably didn't realize how much movies were mind control, because movies, you know, when you're a kid and you used to go to the VHS store and get the fucking movies, and oh wow, it'd be cool, you know, bring it home, you know, Chuck Norris, or you know, it's just fucking, you know,
I watched
kind of shit.
lots of TV, but I also watch more movies, like the VHS.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is that now that you know all this, and you know what they're doing, and you know how they're programming us, it's very important for people to speak out. When I created Supreme Lord Commander like 2.5 years ago, or I don't know, it was 2-3 years ago, I can't
That
remember.
long?
It was all about that. It was all about like, hey, the most important thing for me, or one of the most important things I can do, is actually go into the culture and show them exactly how people are being programmed. And I thought, well, if people are watching all this shit, then we could do shows on this and we could expose it from a completely different angle. Because if you're part of the idiocracy, and trust me, you go on
The Idiocracy.
the idiocracy
That's
on
perfect.
YouTube, people get dumber by the minute, maybe by the second. It is unbelievable how, I mean, it's like you have top YouTube channels that have reactions to trailers. Like they actually, there's a massive industry and a lot of money to be made to be somebody that puts their idiotic face up on a video and reacts live to like a comic book movie trailer,
Right.
and teasers and stuff like that. And it's like, it's unbelievable. It's just exponentially stupid is how people are, like, that's what's happening. YouTube is the worst of the worst. There's nothing worse than YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't know because I don't have Facebook. I mean, I was on Facebook for like 3 weeks and then they booted me off, which was like the best 3 weeks I've ever had in terms of views. Which is ironic, right? Like, just shut this thing down. We gotta shut this thing down. But I think ironically my
It's
my
still up. You just don't have access to it.
yeah, it's like it's I had 3 weeks where I actually had access to Facebook, and I was like, and then they wanted facial ID and all that shit. I was like, fuck you, I'm not giving you anything. Fuck you, you know, like fuck your fuck, you know, shit. But anyways, you know, it's like, it's so important for people to understand this. It's not like we know everything and everything we're going to be able to show you. It's not like it's too complicated, it's too big, but there's no doubt about it. Your entertainment is social conditioning. They are conditioning you. They are controlling your mind. They are setting you up. Like they want to control you and everyone else. It's a small group of people and they want to control it all.
And they want to do it subtly. They want to do it very, very. They want to sneak in. They want to use things like plot lines and characters and things that are symbolic to anchor to things in your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
they do it very subtly, and if you're aware of it, like I said before, it breaks the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can look at these things and watch them with a discerning eye and just say, hey, no, I see what you're doing.
There's no doubt about it. I mean,
it has no effect. It has no effect at that point.
Well, you know, it all, it's none of us are going to be immune to what they do.
I agree with that.
And make ourselves more aware, and more aware means you're going to be able to protect yourself and those around you and those that you can communicate with. Yeah. So like you and I, we do podcasts, you know, eventually, hopefully thousands of people will see this. You know, usually when we do a Walking Dead, we get a few thousand people showing up to watch the video. How long they stick around, I don't know, but the numbers are good. If you can plant those seeds and you can just say to folks, look, you're in, you know, just try to think about it for a second. What if you are under mind control? What if everything that you value, you cherish, is stuff that is purposely there to keep you bogged down? Like, what if all your LGBT, PQNSW, XYZ rainbow is all about destroying who you are, destroying your strength, making you into a weak person that will never be able to stand up to what they're doing? And if they're conditioning you and saying that your weakness is a strength, think about all the Marvel, DC, Todd McFarlane type comic book movie shows, you know, everything that's out there, because it's a comic book era. Let's just say.
Well, that's like Canadians being trained and forced to believe that Tim Hortons is a source of caffeine.
Well, that's it. And well, Tim Hortons,
right?
Good,
but I mean, no, it becomes a bunch of different things. Like one, in that sense, it's national pride, plus programming, plus habit, plus addiction. So like you got these multiple layers of items that drive a point, which really only does one thing: takes money out of your pocket and puts it into somebody else's.
No. There's way more than
in that sense. I'm just saying,
yeah,
in that
way more. That's the bonus. That's like the icing.
But that's where programming takes somebody.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Okay, so think about the Marvel, all the shows. I don't even like. I'm gonna do this. Like I've got a few shows lined up, which I'm gonna get into because all the shows are the same. All the Marvel movies are the same. It's always kids. It's young teenagers who are shunned by society. Right? They're bullied in school or whatever, but they have some superpower, and that superpower makes them a superhero. Every single one of these things is pushing the same fucking mentality that anyone who's been bullied is really the best person in the world. Anyone that has been picked on is the beacon of civilization, is the greatest thing ever. You are special because you suffered, because somebody snickered at you, because you're confused about your sexuality, because you don't know who you are, because you're putting fucking all kinds of shit in your nose and your face and everything else, and you're dyeing your hair every fucking which color, and you're not sure if you want tits or a dick or both. You know, and you're the best thing ever. No, you're the weakest thing ever. You're the wimpiest thing ever. You are crushed as a human being. You will be miserable, and we will control you forever. And when you're older and you'll be still in your comic books, you'll be in your comic books forever. You'll never leave them. You'll never leave that realm. You'll always be in that comfort zone, and you'll gravitate to your community of whatever color of the rainbow it is. And this is so insidious. It's so evil.
It's like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, the answer to bullying is not to like, oh, we need the police state and we have to outlaw bullying. It's like, yeah, somebody called me bossy at school, Rob. That's horrible. I feel terrible. Well, let's ban.
Hang on. We have to cancel all of your classes tomorrow. You have to go to the auditorium and have a good cry.
Yeah, let's ban bossy. How about that?
Let's ban bossy and let's have a good cry.
We'll ban the word because you're the best thing ever. And that's what they tell these people. They say, you're the greatest thing ever. No! You're full of shit.
You're going to get a trophy for coming out.
You're nothing. You need to be something. To be something, it requires so much effort. It requires everything. You have to work hard. You have to do something with your life. Otherwise, you're nothing. That's the reality. The reality is they're keeping you from being something. The
reality is there's winners and there's fucking losers. Just coming out and taking part doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything. And that's the reality. But they want to gloss over that and make it look like anyone who takes part is a precious snowflake.
Yeah, that they want everyone to be snowflakes, and they want everyone to think that snowflakes are the best thing ever. When it's like, you know what? You're gonna melt. Anything that comes to confront you, you melt. Yeah. You're gonna cry because somebody looks at you the wrong way. You're a fucking weak human being. I'm sorry, you're fucking weak. I'm not gonna feel sympathy for you.
But Jeff, it's okay to cry.
I'll come up to your face and I'll say you're a fucking weak human being. And guess what? That might be the best thing that anybody ever says to you, because you might say, you know what? He's right. I gotta stop being like this, and then
stop being a pussy.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on. This world, I mean, like it's like banning Nazism on Twitter. Well, what does that mean? Banning Nazis? There are no Nazis. What, neo-Nazis? Okay, what does that mean? So you're gonna say that people that have pride in being white are bad, but anybody that has pride in any other fucking color is awesome. So if you're Black Lives Matter, your Hispanic Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, Gay Lives Matter, Transgender Lives Matter, anything matters, but white lives, no chance.
I just heard an argument that all lives matter is a protest to Black Lives Matter, but really at the end of the day, all lives matter is all inclusive and actually supports Black. What? Fuck off. Piss me off, you piece of shit.
You know, like... you know, I hate to say this to people, but like your entertainment, your media, your YouTube, all that's there to destroy you as a person. It's there to make you weak. The
It's there to tear you
solution to success is simple. Find something you love, put everything you love you can, and work as hard as you possibly can. Then you can't lose. But they'll never tell you that. They'll say, hey, guess what? Take a pill. It'll be a solution. Hey, guess what? It's okay. What? You're 30 years old? You got comic books? Awesome. You're the best thing ever. What? You're a 40-year-old man and you go to My Little Pony conventions? I think you're very special. In fact, I think you're a stronger human being than Arnold Schwarzenegger. In fact, you know what? If anybody ever says anything to you, you should call the police right away because those people are the worst people ever.
Run to the chopper.
It's madness. You know, why did Arnold Schwarzenegger become successful? Because he was teased as a little kid. What did he do as he teased as a little kid? Yeah, no, he went home and he cried and he sulked and he opened up comic books. No, he went and he fucking picked up dumbbells and he worked out. You know, maybe took some steroids, but you know, he worked his ass off and built himself up into a successful person. And that's what you should be taking, is that you should be saying, how do I make myself stronger? You know, we showed Starbuck before. In fact, the character Starbuck is somebody to easily kind of admire because it's a chick that doesn't give a shit. She smokes cigars, she drinks whiskey.
She did it really well, and she was a really good actress for that role.
I mean, she was a great character on the show, and you could buy that character because she's, you know, she. And what was her character? Well, it was about being strong. It wasn't about being weak. It was about like, I'm tough. I can, you know.
And it was several years before the whole online feminist movement kind of caught up with it. So it was kind of fresh and it kind of was neat. It was like a twist.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, they replaced Starbuck with a woman. And it was kind of cool at the time. Like,
one of those things, though, where I say about the silver lining, like, because the intentions are evil, but there always can be good things that come out of bad things.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that they hate and they fear, is that even all their propaganda a lot of it may work against them, because it might be like, well, people will start to realize what it is and they'll start to say, holy shit, they actually tried to do this to us. Imagine what would come out if you found out that a certain group of people were trying to manipulate everything in society and they were trying to destroy us and weaken us. I mean, would it ever come out? How would it come out? Because they control the media. So how would it come out? Well, it wouldn't come out. I mean, it's coming out right now. We're telling you that. But it doesn't matter because we don't control anything. We have no power. We have no say. We have a meager, small audience, which is tragic. We should have tens of thousands of people listening. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. You say to me, yeah, you think you're jealous of Philip DeFranco because he's got Philip DeFranco. If you traded me with Philip DeFranco, the world would be a better place. There's no doubt about it, because, you know, it might not be a good short-term thing. People would be like, fuck, this is horrible. Or they'd be really upset. But in the long term, people would be like, okay, I learned. Oh, fuck. Now I realize, holy shit, I've got to really think critically about all this shit that I take. I got to look at YouTube completely differently. I got to look at everything really differently. And that's the path to awareness. The path to awareness is like being a critical thinker, saying, my politicians, Justine Trudeau, is telling me that I should hug fucking, you know, unicorns and fucking embrace Muslims. And yeah, Muslims are the greatest thing ever. And we should, you know, if you don't want Muslims everywhere in your society, you're a horrible person. No, fuck you. Think critically. Think, what are they doing? Why is our birth rate so low? Why are these politicians so eager to bring in all these Muslims? What are they really trying to do? And then you start getting into it and you start realizing, oh, this is what that's
all about. Destabilization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they want us weak. And that's why this is what I say to kids. So I would dream that YouTube would, you know, allow a video of mine to go viral or to, you know, like just something that we do that would actually reach the masses. But it'll never happen because we know who controls it. Yeah. The thing is,
well, I'm either at the bottom because I do shit videos or I just don't do enough of them.
Yeah, but like things like this, you know, like, yeah,
Always at the
all
bottom
the
of the
things
phone.
that people could be watching. So you say Walking Dead, for instance, you got all these reactions to the trailers, reactions, predictions for next season, predictions for this character, the Easter eggs in the promo, the 30-second, you know, season 8 part 2 breakdown, all the things that I predict is going to happen. All of that is fucking garbage. All of that makes you dumber, makes you weaker, makes you stupider. But if you were to stumble upon this podcast and you'd be like, well, you know, who the fuck are these guys? But if you were to make your way through it, you'd be like, well, maybe I do need to think. Maybe I do need to stop for a second and say, you know, I watch television every night and, you know, I don't know, I haven't been feeling well lately. Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe you are being controlled, mind controlled, and maybe they're normalizing all your weaknesses. They're normalizing your depression. They're normalizing your misery. And they're saying it's wonderful to be miserable. No, it's not. It's not wonderful. Don't be miserable. You know, don't watch their shit. If something makes you miserable, you know, that's a
Stop
sign.
doing it.
Yeah, that's it. But people are, you know, and they're conditioned into this self-loathing.
Well, hang on. People are also driven to go and do things they don't want to do, like go and work their goddamn job that they don't like, that they
Yes.
are barely qualified to do, that they feel shitty about having to go to in the first place. People have been taken down several notches from day one, especially this generation.
I agree wholly. I mean,
so I mean, to be subjected to a show that is poorly written yet just laden with huge predictive programming elements. I mean, it's not surprising that they just kind of, it's like they're taking a shit kicking, like they're taking a dirty Hamilton ghetto beating and loving it.
We worry, like, think about it in Kanakistan. We're so concerned about the natives that were culturally, or they were forced assimilated into schools. Right, back in the 1900s, the early 1900s, right, late 1800s. Oh my God, it was so horrible. We took these native people out of their villages and we put them in classrooms. Yeah, why don't you go back to that time and live in that world and understand the problems that those people had to deal with, and you come up with a better solution. You know what? Maybe you should be thinking about how much they're fucking with your mind. Maybe you should think of yourself as those native children sitting in those classrooms being taught either about Christianity or being taught about mathematics or Canadian or whatever history or whatever they would be teaching, you know, language and stuff like that. Maybe you should think about yourself as being even 100 times worse, in the sense that you are bombarded with suggestions. You are bombarded with sexual suggestions. You are bombarded with all, like, they know exactly what makes us tick. They know they can make an ad that is like 15 seconds long, 30 seconds long, that will make you buy something. You think they don't understand mind control? You think they haven't perfected it? You're dreaming of rainbow technicolor. I mean, seriously, they know exactly what makes us tick. They know exactly how to program us. They know how to suggest things. They have been doing it since they've had the ability to do it. They did it with the printing press, and then they did it with radio, and then they did it with television and movies.
They also did it with Radio Shack. When I was working for Radio Shack, we had a salesperson's course on how to basically completely subjugate our customers,
exactly,
and sell them shit they don't need. And guess what? It's a science.
It is.
They can go and devote an entire science to selling products that people don't need. Do you not think that they're going to do the same thing with broadcasting and programming?
What did Eric Holder say about gun control? We need to program people. We need to get into the rooms. We have to do what the marketers do. The people that convince you to buy something in a 30-second commercial. And we have to do that as a government. We have to program everyone into hating guns. And that's exactly what Sandy Hook is, and all these psyops.
And that's psychological programming at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing. It's like, look, you know, I'm sorry if you're new and it's a harsh, like waking up for a lot of people is going to be a very painful process.
That's why I named my new channel Truth Hurts.
You know what's funny though? I have to tell you this. I was trying to like before. I was like, "Where's Rob's channel? What's Rob's channel?" And I looked up Truth Hurts, and there was like gazillions of channels.
I know. I didn't come up with the
Fuck. I was looking for the finger, the flaming finger. Anyways, dude, I think we're gonna close up. It's midnight here, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
been
it's midnight here too. I'm actually in the same time zone as you for once.
yeah. Hey, that's pretty cool. It's been an incredible show.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of fun, Jeff, and yeah, I have to get out of here soon too as well.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Robert J. Morris. Please plug yourself for the audience, anybody that's listening, because there'll be a lot of people that come and watch this later as well.
All right. Well, on Twitter, I'm at Tiberius74, and the Tiberius is Tyberius. You can look up Truth Hurts on YouTube. Just look for the flaming finger.
I put the links. Okay, the links are in the description, right?
But you can also find my Robert J. Morris channel on YouTube.
I put both links, so everybody that's listening, both links to Robert's channels are in the description. So please go and sub.
Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, and I'm also on Patreon and all that good stuff. I'm just getting out of the gates again since I've been back in Ontario, and yeah, man, I look forward to doing a lot more of this shit. So
awesome. Well, we have a lot of future podcasts, I'm sure, dealing with all the stuff that we talked tonight and so much more. So yeah, we'll keep in touch, Rob, and we'll think about the next one that we're going to do. And yeah, maybe we get a regular thing going where we can really hammer away, because I think it's more important than ever to do this type of stuff. And I want to thank everybody that was in the chat. The chat was extremely active tonight. There's a lot of good folks there. Thank you so much for all the support and for sticking by us. And yeah, like if you see new people come in, always good to be kind, like I know kindness is everything, but you know what I mean? Like, like a lot of people out there.
Kindness goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of people out there, need the spoon fed. They don't, if you try to cram it down their throat, they're just going to reject it. So you got to take a little spoon, a little teaspoon, and like a little bit at a time. Take your little medicine, your little wake up medicine. Here you go. You're getting programmed. Here you go. And then, you plant the seed. You open, if the front door is shut, look on the back. There might be a window open. You crack open the window, plant the seed, and, start the sort of organic, real sort of revolution that needs to happen, which is a revolution of consciousness, which is all
if you punch the window, make sure you wrap a towel around your hand. You don't want to get cut.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, and for me, please check out Fake News Report, which is a new channel. And it should be in the links in the description. So check out the description. Make sure you're sub to all of our channels. Have a wonderful night. It's been a blast, and we'll see you real soon here on Supreme Lord Commander.
Cheers, guys.
All right.